I had this plan that me and Elle, we were gonna go someplace far away, and no one would find us. And I said this thing about going somewhere with 3 waterfalls. I mean, I don't even know if she believed me. Who would? 3 waterfalls? I mean, that's so stupid, childish. It was a fantasy plan. I should have had a real one. I just didn't. I didn't think that she would just.
Hey, this. It's not your fault. What happened is not your fault.
Greetings, stranger friends, and welcome back, finally, to Stranger Danger. As I am starting to record this, because this one might take a while, as I am starting to record this, the Stranger Things finale was now 20 days ago, I believe, if I did my math correctly. 20 days, almost 3 weeks has passed since the finale of Stranger Things. Since the Rightside Up aired, since our favorite show came to an end. And I admit that I procrastinated a bit. It is true. There is some of that. Also, some real life stuff got in the way, but nothing, too serious or anything bad or anything. Just, life is lived. And it's just with that, I thought, you know what? I just want to take the time and first of all, apologize for the delay in getting this out to everybody. I hope everyone still cares, and I hope everyone is still thinking about that finale episode even this many weeks later, and hopefully years later, all of you will still be thinking of this, and new people will find this show, and new people will be listening to this as we go over the big finale. And I feel like a part of me had a little, there was a little anxiousness about the whole thing, because yes, this show will live on. There will be books. There will be comic books. There will be spin-offs. And who knows? The unknown is out there. There will be more Stranger Things, but not like this. Like with when you really think about it, this is Stranger Things. This is what this show, Stranger Danger, was all about. And with this finale, just comes kind of the end of an era of television. And with that, is an end of just an end of this type of show. I will always be there to cover Stranger Things in the expanded world. But I don't think it will ever be like this. Whether that means, these in-depth episodes, or I also just think the love that we have for this show, these characters, this story, I don't think will ever be replicated. There may be great things to come, but I just want to take the moment to appreciate this story, these characters, this show for what it was, for what it gave to us, for what it allowed me to do and connect with everybody who's listening, everybody who's written in, who's sent comments, who's sent voicemail. And part of me is like, oh my goodness, I'm going to start recording. I hope I don't mess it up. I hope I get it right, because, this was a big deal for television, and this was a big deal for the show, and it's a huge deal for this podcast. Just because it really is closing the book on the world of Stranger Things, of Hawkins, on our heroes, our friends. And I know we're already going to get a cartoon. And there are already books out there that I haven't read yet, novels and comics. And I trust me, we will cover all of them. But again, nothing will touch this. And so I was like, oh God, I got to do it. Oh God. And it was almost like getting in my own head. I need to do it. I need to do this. I need to finish my notes. So it took me a while, but I got through my notes. Then what I like to do is go through all of my notes and find all the clips that I want to play. And there are a lot of them. So I go through and I spent a whole night getting through all the clips, getting them all ready to go. And then I was like, now I need to find time to record. Maybe I'll do it tonight. No, I can't do it tonight. Maybe I'll do it. Well, I'm not going to be around. So then I thought, you know what, Michael? It is Monday. As I'm saying this right now, it is Monday, January 19th, 2026. Wherever you are in the world, in the future, this is the day I finally said, gosh darn it, and I don't like to swear, but gosh darn it, Michael, you need to start recording. You need to get this story told, get this podcast out, and just relive and recap this grand finale experience that the world had, whether you were at home, whether you were at the movie theater, whether you had to wait a couple days like my niece, who remained spoiler free. This was a huge deal, and it was, to me, always the ending. I know there's a lot of people out there looking for more, trying to read between the lines. I always felt like that was and I hate to say it, it was almost like a ploy to like, hey, maybe I noticed something. Look at me, everyone, I noticed something. And I think there's going to be more. In fact, when I said it to my niece, she goes, I believed it. I was like, oh, I never believed there was more than this. Would I love there to be more? Would I love for, all those rumors to be true? Sure. But did I ever once say, wait a second, let me investigate, there's more? No. That just wasn't me. The amount of work that was put into this to get to this moment, I just thought it would have lessened what we had. Cheapened maybe, I don't know. It just would have taken some of the air out of the finale we did get to be like, but wait, here's more. So I never bought into that. And but again, that's the type of show this is. This show is so beloved that even when it's over, people are like, but wait, there has to be more. There's got to be something else. There's got to be some sort of little coda, some sort of little stinger, something. How many people fast forwarded to the end of the credits? I know I did. And then you think you see something, but you realize it's just the emblem for one of the production companies. But you did wish, you did hope, you did believe. In some way or another, but I never did think that we were getting a 9th episode, and with that, I don't want to waste really any more time, except I want to say I do see your comments. I love that people are commenting to each other on Spotify. I have seen, I have, if you sent in a voicemail, I did see it, but I almost don't want to gloss over those. So what I'd love to do is, and if you'll allow it, while this is the series finale for Stranger Things, it's not even close to the series finale for Stranger Danger. So we're going to revisit Everyone, all these comments, I'm going to go through them, see which ones are, if there's people just having conversations back and forth, that's great. And that's for you guys. But if there's things that are sent in to me, any voicemails that are sent in, any emails that I got, any Apple reviews, anything like that, I'm going to take time. So there will be there'll be more episodes of Stranger Danger coming in the near future where I go over all those things. But for now, I don't want to waste any more time not talking about this episode. So with that said, why don't I see if I can still change the voice and bring it down and make it somewhat dramatic as we get ready right now, without further ado, to talk about Stranger Things 5, Chapter 8, the grand finale, The Right Side Up. And so, for the last time, we discuss the opening of a Stranger Things episode. We open up back at the Mag Z, and our heroes just went through the gate a few moments ago. And now we see there's a bunch of military vehicles, of course, going in after them. They must have expected that. I expected that. We see soldiers and Dr. K going into a Radio Shack, which I wish I could go into a Radio Shack right now. That would be fun. But they're there to question that soldier who was, quote unquote, guarding the gate when our heroes, drove right through and right into the when I say gate, the first time I meant the gate into the Upside Down, but the gate I'm talking about now is the fences that this guy was guarding when, Mr. Clark did his little magic science stuff and allowed them to get right through to the quote-unquote gate to the Upside Down. There's a lot of gates. But this guy keeps insisting he doesn't know what happened, that it must have malfunctioned. And Kay thinks, well, what if it was a malfunction, but not one caused by us? And she looks up and she sees this shortwave radio kit that you could buy back then. I guess you could probably still buy them now. I never had anything like that. I never had shortwave radio. I babysat some kids who had ham radio. That was cool. My brother used to have a walkie-talkie. You think these walkie-talkies get range? My brother had a walkie-talkie. We had two of them, but he could pick up sometimes truckers on CBs, and we'd have conversations with them. That would be fun. But this is just a shortwave radio kit that kind of reminds me, I used to have this electronics kit where I could just, I could do little things like make beeps and make lights and you connect wires and stuff. It was like a play set, but science-y for nerds. And I would come home in sixth grade, I think, almost every day, put Three Amigos on, and I would play with this kit, trying to do things with it. But what it does for Dr. K is give them an idea that maybe they've been had. And that finally leads us to something that I've been talking about all season long, but we're not there yet. Before we get there, we jump back to the Upside Down, where Murray's truck of heroes arrives at the Hawkins lab. There's Hop, Eleven, and Murray, and Callie. We see all of them get out, but before they part ways, you could see that Mike sensed something was off with 11 a little bit.
Hey. Is everything okay? Listen, I know this plan is totally mad and a million things have to go right and a million things could and probably will go wrong, but we can do this. I know it. One last fight and this whole nightmare, it'll be over. It'll finally be over.
Oh, Mike, sweet, sweet Mike, you sweet, sweet boy. So Murray, Hopper, 11, and Callie, they head into the lab as the truck drives off with the rest of them. I'm guessing Steve's driving it now. But as they go in, as they're heading into the lab, we get that binocular view. You know that view that you only see in movies and television, looking through when you actually look through binoculars, they don't give you that. It doesn't look like you're looking with the black, blocked out area and you see two circles. It's just, that's kind of been the way that we've been trained to accept how binoculars look in movie and television. It's like, It is movie grammar, television grammar. Grandma, look at this. There's some, not grandma got run over by a reindeer, but grammar. But it's not real. But you never question it. You see that, you're like, oh, someone's looking at binocular. Who is it? And who is watching them? It's of course that no good piece of trash Akers. And we need him around like we need another hole in our head, right? Like maybe right by the chin. I don't want to get ahead of things, but we don't want him around at all. But I did see the other day, and I actually remember this from the Netflix documentary about the play, The First Shadow, that this actor actually plays, I don't think I mentioned this at all, this actor who's Akers, who we hate, actually plays Brenner in The First Shadow. So like this guy loves to play characters that cause trouble for 11. I was like, wait a minute, we don't like him here, but oh wait, we don't like Brenner either, because he's got, when you think about Brenner, especially when you think of last season, you hate him, but at the same time, you almost believe that he believes what he is doing is in the best interest. But nah, we hate him too. Anyway, one of the other guys says to him, should we call it in? He's like, wait, what are you doing? Stop that. Like, he's had enough with Kay. He's had enough with doing things her way. He's like, that bitch has a God complex. He's like, all she's going to do is slow us down. And he's like, nope. He says they're going to be bagging this freak themselves. I hate that he constantly keeps calling her a freak. I really want him to get his comeuppance. And again, we've all watched it. So every time we see him now, we can smile just a little bit, knowing what we know. Okay, anyway, we cut over to Henry's house in Henry's head. Yeah, we're not out of Camazotz just yet. We get a quick moment of the 12 vessels still in a trance in Camazotz, in Mr. Whatsit's prison, even though they think they're helping out Mr. Whatsit save the world. These kids are now all in a trance, and in the real world, they are still very much being held captive in the abyss, still being force-fed through the vines into their mouths, which is gross, as Vecna hangs from above, and there's that giant, gross sack above him that's like pulsating. It almost kind of looks like a stomach. I mean, it's gross. Or a heart. I don't know. But it's pulsating faster and faster and faster. And then outside the lair, we see cracks are forming, and we travel through one of these cracks. So we're in the abyss. We see a very familiar crack with the red and everything. We travel through one of them to go into the upside down version of the abyss. And we see that this abyss, this other world, this other dimension is physically making its way towards our world. Like the upside down, it's not like another dimension. We know now it's a wormhole. It's a very physical, actual, bridge between two worlds that's getting smaller and smaller, and it's making its way to the upside down. It's making its way right to us, right to Hawkins, and then we go to the opening credits for the last time. Did any of you hit skip intro? I sure hope not. I definitely didn't, because this is the moment. It's the last moment we get to see these opening credits. We get to hear that music. It's the last time we get to hear and see it for the first time. Obviously, we've seen it 1,000 times, but this is the last time we're seeing it in a first run episode, and it's just like, it's bittersweet. You're watching it going, I'm never going to see this like this ever again. So after the credits, we see a church with a bell tower, and okay, it is further away from the MacZ than I originally thought, but inside we see Mr. Clark is with Erica, and he's wondering, if everything's all right. And Erica figures they're fine for now. And she doesn't just say, yeah, they're probably fine. She literally figures it out, doing some basic calculations on the speed of the truck versus the speed of the military Humvees, along with the head start that our heroes got from the terrible military folk. And so she's like, yeah, no worry, the real shit hasn't even started yet. And Mr. Clark's like, because he's a teacher first, he's like, Erica, language. She's like, this isn't Intro to Science, dude. This situation demands cussing. And he seems to be okay with that.
So, how's it feel?
What?
Helping to save the world and all that?
It feels pretty swell. Pretty goddamn swell.
And for punishment, for Mr. Clark cussing in front of his favorite student, he jinxed it. The military show up. Now I'm thinking, how? Like, were they just driving around for a while looking for possible places? Did they think it has to be someplace up high, and maybe from where they were stationed, they finally looked up and noticed the tower? Either way, for this entire season, I thought they were getting away with being up in that tower a little too conveniently. And, well, that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. And even worse, the military shows up, all these people get out, and Kay sees a squawk radio van outside this tower. And she's probably thinking what I was thinking, like, why would there be a radio van at a church? Maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing. But what it is something that Kay will definitely look into and follow up on. So it's like, oh, we think there's something going on here, and now there's a radio van here. Let me go check out the radio too. Might as well. That is very sloppy hero work. And even if Erica and Scott can hide somewhere in the tower, the van alone is a clue. And that is not good. Now imagine if at that moment Clark pulls out 2 handguns and he says to Erica, they're not taking me without a fight. And then he kicks open the door and he charges down the stairs, and she'd be like, oh my God. Obviously that didn't happen, but it's nice to dream sometimes. In fact, I don't think we ever see them again until like the very end. Do we see Erica at all at the end of, I don't mean the end, I mean the end of the mission. I don't think so. I don't think we see them at all. And we don't even, I guess they get taken into custody, but I'm fairly certain their story ends right there again as part of the mission. We do see them again, but not in this capacity, not while everything is being put into action. And speaking of the squawk, we jump over there where the lights are already starting to flicker, and Vicky, now fully part of the team, she's there hanging out with Max, but she was able to be on the walkie and talk to Robin on the other side, who let them know that it's just them and that they've arrived in the Upside Down Squawk. There at the Upside Down Squawk, it would have been cool actually to go inside to see 1983 records, because it's the 1983 version of the radio station. Maybe we see like something specific to that year. Not important, but the thought did cross my mind, so I thought it would be cool. What is important is that there is no sign of an evil planet moving in yet.
Well, that's good, because this is going to take time. All right, we should split up. Use both ladders. Don't rush. Pace yourselves. There are platforms along the way, so use them to rest. All right. Let's do this.
So Jonathan's taking a little bit of a lead there. He's telling everybody, we got to use both ladders. Don't rush. Pace yourself. And the gang's all there. They're all planning to go up through the gate. They're all planning to go up the beanstalk. And now they're all heading up. I'd be like, this is great. This is awesome. I'm going to stay here and keep guard to make sure nobody gets here to us. Because when you think about it, if they, we know Kay knows about the radio station, but she doesn't think, the radio station on the other side might be an issue. So she doesn't send anyone there, but she could have. And I would have been on the ground safely there to guard them or to talk on the walkie. Hey guys, they're here. And I think that it would be a beneficial person to have. Boots on the ground, feet on the ground, firmly on the ground. And I say that because I don't know if I could climb that ladder. I mean, maybe my legs might be okay getting up there. My arms would probably turn to jelly. That's just a simple fact. I'm not what you would call a climber, but they all are, and they all head up, and they all seem to have no issue going up into these heights. You know why? Because I'm just a guy with a microphone, and these are real heroes. So we go back to the upside down Hawkins lab, and we see Murray's putting gasoline in the generators. So apparently electricity, everything works, even though this upside down is just an echo. I think I called it that. Maybe I think I called it that before. An echo of our reality created when the wormhole was created. It still gets full generated power, but I guess we knew that already because the military had all their labs up there, down there, in there, whatever you want to call it, running completely on power. So obviously things work. And with Murray putting gasoline in the generators, they're able to get power. So he's doing that as Hopper, 11, and Collie are making their way through the labs to the tank, to the bath, where Brenna originally ran those experiments with her. She actually gets some flashbacks of when she first went into the tank and when she first went to the void, when she touched the Demogorgon and created that first rift, the first real gate. And, God, thinking back to that just really makes me want to go back and watch like the entire show again. Just for fun, though. Just for fun. Not just to relive it. Maybe not to do another rewatch podcast. Though people joke like, oh, they'll be making Stranger Things spinoffs for years. Or like I joke to myself, like I'll be doing rewatches. Guys, I'm going to rewatch Stranger Things again. This time I'm going to do it standing on my head so I can see what it looks like with everything upside down. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I don't like the way that those people working in the lab were just looking at her. Like they show all these people in lab coats just looking at this kid and thinking nothing of it because they're there to run their experiments. Ooh, I hate them. So at this point, the lights all go on as Murray was able to get the generator working. And then he heads up to the roof with all the C4. What's the C4? It's for explosions. I really didn't write that down, and I really wasn't expecting to say that. I don't know if it landed. I hope it did. I hope you guys are like, I'm like pausing and taking some time to let you guys, get that laughter out. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. So Hopper gets the tank open, and thankfully, like the water inside isn't gross. It's not gross at all. It's just like perfectly clear. And because if I was like, you're going to make me go into the upside down, into the tank, my first thought would be, can we bring fresh water from our world, like get a giant tank, fill it with water, then bring it in? Thankfully, they didn't have to do that. The water was perfectly fine because Elle's going in right now. But before she does go in, Hop goes over a few things with her.
Now remember, 2 slow knocks means...
The abyss started to move.
That's right. And you and your sister get in position, but you wait. You do not attack. The second I get confirmation that planet is close enough to the tower, then I'm gonna give you 3 fast knocks.
Then we strike. We kill Henry.
And we pray to God Dustin's right, and that planet stops moving. What could possibly go wrong, right?
If something does go wrong, I need you to promise me you won't pull me out. Not until I'm sure he's dead.
Okay, well, then I'm gonna need a promise from you too. If by some miracle this plan actually works, we're getting the hell out of here. Doc K and her plans, that's a problem for another day. Deal?
So Hop wants her to, forget about Dr. K. That's another time. We don't have to worry about that now. Just worry about Henry. She nods, she puts on the oxygen helmet, and she's ready to go in.
Let's end this, kid.
He lowers her into the tank and seals her in. And as he does this, we see Collie put on a blindfold. She's ready to go in too. So Hop and 11 share one final wave through the glass, and it is like, you could see the look on his face. He's like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm allowing this, but he has to trust her to be able to do this. He closes the door, leaving 11 in complete darkness, complete silence. And my first thought was, wow, I'm jealous. Like, if I had headphones and I could listen to a podcast or an audiobook while I was in that tank, that'd be heaven. So think about what we just witnessed, what just happened. Hopper is telling her, Dr. K, we can worry about that, her and her plans. That's a problem for another day. Deal? And she's like, yes, deal. Because 11 in the back of her mind is thinking, yeah, I'm not worried about Dr. K and her plans. I am, I'll do that. That's great. And I will make a deal to not worry about her because, or she's just lying because she has something much heavier that she's planning to do, much worse. And I feel bad because Hopper's thinking, okay, she's agreed. Good. We're going to get Henry and then get the hell out of here, blow up the whole Upside Down, all that fun stuff. But we're getting out of here. All of us in one piece. Hooray. One of the things I love about this show, about Stranger Things, is that I feel like it never rushes to the point where it completely ignores things. Like, it takes its time, going from this high concept fantasy action to go down to this little character drama and give us these character moments that they deem important and that are important and that allow us to care so much about these kids and these people doing these incredibly amazing, sci-fi fantasy things. And we get, these moments to breathe. Like here, while climbing up the tower, Mike and Will, they take a moment to breathe themselves. They take a moment just, first they need to rest because they're just going up, they're going up this giant ladder, which again, I wouldn't do. I'd be like, all right, good luck with everything. I'll be down here. But they're going up there. And, this is when they take a moment to just kind of catch their breath. Mike takes a moment to finally address Will's big reveal, and he apologizes to Will. It's a little awkward at first. It's a little funny. Like, he's trying to find the right words, but he keeps stumbling over them. And Will's like, it's okay. It's okay.
No, it's not. I should have been there for you. And I wasn't. And I guess I was just so self-absorbed that I couldn't see it. I feel like an idiot. And I'm sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. And you are not an idiot. You're not. It's just... I didn't even understand it myself for the longest time. I think it needed to happen the way it happened. I needed to find my own way. But what matters is that you're still here. And you still think we can be friends.
Friends? No thanks. Best friends. All right, come on.
Let's be honest. The story of this show is a lot of fun. The monsters, the mysteries, the different dimensions. But when it all comes down to it, if we didn't care about these characters, we wouldn't care. The characters that the Duffers, the writers, the directors, and the actors created for us are the real reason we're obsessed with this show. For the past decade, we've been obsessed with this show because of these characters. And you put them in these crazy situations, but it's because of these characters. And think about that. This show has been around for a decade. Like, a lot of you watching it and listening to this podcast have grown up with it, have matured with it, have become adults with it. And the good thing about listening to this show is that I haven't matured since the 1990s. So you're safe in knowing that I haven't changed in the past 10 years, the 20 years, 30 years, whatever you want to say. I'm not going to go too into it. But at the beginning, that Mike all the way back in episode 1, I'm that same guy. I am still, trying to write silly songs and talk about my favorite show. And I still come up with terrible jokes that are hilarious and you all love. And that's the best part, is you're not listening to a show and you're like, wow, he went from him being a young man to a seasoned, mature adult. Nope. What you see is what you get with me. But anyway, okay, back to what we just saw. It was a really nice moment, and I think Mike and Will needed that moment. Like, yes, they're all best friends, but these two, they're the best of best friends, and a lot of people have that. We have this group, where you're kind of all best friends, but there's always like one person who is your best of the best friends, and that is who Mike is to Will, and Will is to Mike. And after this short little rest and this nice little moment, they continue to make their way up, keep climbing up those ladders because, as they said, they've got a planet to catch. Back at the Squawk, Vicky is nervously pacing around and finally decides she needs a snack. Needs something. A snack might help her calm down. It works for me. Might I suggest something, Vicky, in the Funyun variety? That always seems to do the trick for me. So she walks off, and when Max turns to call after her, she suddenly sees that no one's there. And we don't realize yet that Max isn't seeing that no one's there. Something else is going on here. She turns her wheelchair and she realizes, wait, I just turned my wheelchair? My arms work? Wait a second. She realizes then her legs work too. And she said the same thing I said. Holy shit. She gets up and she starts walking. Like she's in the radio station still, but now she's stepping, and we see she's stepping in puddles. And we think, okay, she actually probably isn't walking anywhere right now. And we know this for a fact because when Vicky comes back out, she drops what she's eating as she sees that in actuality, Max is in the middle of a trance. She's still in her wheelchair. She's still sitting there, and her eyes are all fluttering and they're all rolled back. And Max, inside this trance, slowly makes her way to the front door of the radio station, flings it open, steps out, and boom, she's in the void. And wouldn't you know it, there's Kali and 11 there to greet her. So this was all part of the plan, right? But I thought, how did she get there? So in my mind, I was thinking that she'd physically be standing next to 11, helping her guide through. Kind of like how when Mike would be able to talk to 11 while she's in the void, or even how Hopper's able to smash on the tank to get 11's attention. But no, I didn't realize she was going to be mentally in there with her and Kali. And I guess maybe they're using their powers to bring her in. I just wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how they did that, but I think it's cool they did. So back in the radio tower, Steve and Jonathan get up there first, followed by Dustin and Lucas, and the two younger boys. They just kind of look around. They both take in the view of everything that is around them.
It's pretty damn spectacular.
It's almost too bad we have to blow it all up.
And they're taking in everything above them, because above them, they are now seeing this other world. The upside down end of the abyss is now right above them.
Mother of God.
And it seems to be making its way pretty fast.
Jim, do you, copy?
Yeah, copy.
Well, I got some good news, bad news. Good news is, our theory was correct. A giant planet is descending upon our heads. The bad news is, our theory was correct. A giant planet is descending upon our heads.
How long do we have?
Not long. Supergirl better be close in there.
Yep, so the abyss is on our list. It's the abyss, it's coming and it won't miss. The abyss is on a list of planets coming straight for us. I didn't write that down. I don't even know if it made sense, but when I said abyss out loud, it just made me want to sing some Hall & Oates, of course. So they see it. They in the actual upside down at the lab and at the radio tower. They are now seeing the abyss the giant planet descending upon them, and it's coming fast. And that means that 11, Kali, and Max, they do not have much time. So we jump back to the void, but I was trying to figure out, how do they get back to Camazotz? But it was 11's boosted power from the tank, right? So that's how she is now leading them into the void to Vecna. She was able to locate him in the abyss, and now the three girls can see him like just floating there in the void. But, he can't hurt them there. And they can't hurt him there. They have to actually enter his mind. Max is like, wait, aren't we in his mind? She's like, no, we're in my mind. And Max is like, what? And so am I. I'm like, wait, what? So we're all in 11's mind, trying to now get into Vecna's mind. So 11 goes up and takes hold of Vecna's hand. And wasn't it when she first touched the Demogorgon, she created the rift? So now she kind of knows how to use... Wait a minute. She uses this to... Is she piggybacking? Is this piggybacking again? Using to get into Vecna's mind? I don't remember exactly. But she grabs a hold of Vecna's hand, which, because Max is now there, and Max is connected as well, allows Max to flash through Henry's memories. Yes, because Max knows Henry's memories. She knows exactly where to go, and that, well, maybe she doesn't know where to go, but she knows exactly where they are as they end up.
Life could be a dream. Life could be a dream. Do, 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 shaboom. Life could be a dream.
Back in high school. I still, all these years later, have dreams about being back in high school or in college and having a course that I totally forgot about all semester. I cannot even imagine being in the dream world high school of an evil wizard. So they get in there, they realize they're in the high school, and they hear two bangs, bang, bang, from Hopper outside the tank. The abyss is on the move. They need to hurry. They need to find Vecna's house. But, how close are they even?
Not close.
How not close?
I'm not sure.
You said you know his mind backwards and forwards.
Yeah, I do. But there are a shit ton of memories in here. We're like Dorothy and Oz, except there's no yellow brick road. Everything connects, but there are long ways and there are short ways.
Well, we need a short way.
Yeah, no shit. Now can you just stop talking while I try and think?
Joyce, it's that stupid play of yours.
Better see you there, Harrington.
Yeah, on Friday night? You wish.
Come on, I have an idea.
So they see that same memory that Max saw the first time, and probably many times in that high school setting, with Joyce passing out flyers for their upcoming play. And I like 11's like, is that Joyce? And Max, just matter of fact, she's like, yep. And through that door, Hop's sneaking a joint. And over there, Mr. Wheeler is feeling up Mrs. Wheeler. And I wish we had time to sightsee, but we've got to catch a play. So they follow Max. But I love that she's been there so much, that she's seen this memory so much that she knows where everyone is and what everyone's doing. It reminds me kind of Groundhog Day or any of those movies where they're in an infinite loop, reliving the same day over and over, and to prove it, they're like, this is going to happen, and this is, and they point all these things out. And that's kind of how it's been for Max, reliving this memory over and over and over again inside Camazotz. But in the real world, Max is still sitting there in her chair, still in a trance. Vicky is just stress snacking when she sees vehicles approaching. She looks out and like, military vehicles. Kay and her men have arrived, and they go inside the station, but they find nobody. Thankfully, Vicky quickly took Max behind that hidden shelf with a hidden stairwell. She couldn't take her down the stairs in the basement because of the wheelchair and everything, but at least they got out of the way and out of harm's way, and they aren't able to be seen. You can't tell that there's a door there, so thankfully they're safe for now. Back in the Upside Down, back at the tower, the abyss is slowly / quickly continuing its descent, but with all the rifts in the abyss floor, ceiling, whatever you want to call it, none of them are lining up with the radio tower needle.
If the abyss hits the needle,
Then this tower's going down.
Oh, that's so great. That's just great.
Hey, Chief, we're gonna need Elle to stop this planet. On the sooner side, please.
How soon?
30 seconds.
Oh, Dustin, you better hope your estimate was right, because just at that moment, Hopper turns on the stopwatch on his watch. And back when those were like, that was the coolest thing a watch could do, was it was have a stopwatch on it. Very cool. I loved having it. I had an Iron Man watch. It had a timer and a stopwatch. It was incredible. And you press the side and it glowed like this blue, like teal green. I don't know what it was, but it was awesome. It made me feel like an athlete. I wasn't, but the watch made me feel like one anyway. And I could, time myself not running. So he puts this on thinking, okay, I have 30 seconds before I need to get 11 out of here. She actually has to stop the world's biggest merger. So back in Camazotz, we're back in the Camazotz version of Hawkins High, and the girls are making their way backstage during a play. And my first thought was like, geez, Oklahoma is a much darker play than I thought. But doing a little digging, I saw that this is another little Easter egg for fans of the first Shadow play. It turns out in that production, spoiler, okay, get ready, spoiler, Joyce doesn't actually put on a performance of Oklahoma. Instead, she sneakily decides to do a much darker show called Dark of the Moon. That's why everyone is dressed in skulls and capes. Not that that's important, but it is interesting nonetheless. Kali and 11 are now anxious as what to do next, what they're actually doing, and Max knows that there is a specific way to move through these memories, and she knows there's specific exact moments you have to do these things, but they're running out of time. The abyss, it is a bitch. The abyss now has, pretty much it's right there. It's made contact with the radio tower, and it won't hold much longer. It's pushing down on the needle. It's about to crack. The platform they're all on is standing, and it is really, really shaking. And finally, back in the play, the curtain falls in the memory, and Max yells, "No!" They rush through it, and now they're inside Henry's house, and they see him with all those kids at the table, all 13 of them in a trance, and 11 waits no time. She's like, "'Cause I am!" She strikes and flings Henry back through the room, back through the window, outside into the yard, and all the kids immediately like, oh, they all snap out of the trance. But at the radio tower, the needle snaps, the platform leans over, and Steve flips over. He's almost flung off, but he manages to grab hold by the tip of his fingers. And he slips. He starts to fall, and the screen turns black. And simultaneously, millions of people watching all over the world collectively cried, "No!" I know I did. But then...
Just hold on! I got you.
we see Steve hanging on, held by a hand, by the hand of Jonathan Byers. I loved watching movie theater reactions to that moment and the cheer that people had that Jonathan is the one that saved Steve. You can hear how elated they are that 11 did it.
Got the bastard! Yes! Wow! Come on!
And back to Jonathan being the one to save Steve, think about season 1. Never mind this, what they've been going through recently, but think all the way back to season 1 for a second. Think about their early interactions. It's kind of goddamn poetic that he is the one that saves Steve. And really, Duffers, you couldn't make Dustin go through this again, could you? Not after what he's been through, not after what we have seen the aftermath of losing Eddie did to him this season, and how he kind of came to grips with it, and him and Steve going through that, dealing with Eddie as well. There is really, when you really think about it, there was no way they could have done that to Dustin again, right? So there's Steve's falling, and I thought for a second, oh my goodness, they could actually do this, because again, they could have, but they didn't. You know why? Because they have some sort of a heart. They couldn't do that to Dustin again. And I love that Lucas is the one calling back to Hopper on the walkie. He's like, "Elle, got the bastard. Back in Camazotz, Max rushes to Holly's side. You can see Holly's so happy that Max came back for her, but Max is like, she's not ever leaving her side again until she can get her out of there, until she can get them all out of this. And her friend, I like that her friend yells, "It's her, it's the monster." But Max is like, "No, you dumb little shit. I'm not the monster, and I can prove it." And I just this moment, just this scene where Holly is so happy to see Max, and Max says, "I'm never going to leave your side again." I feel like one little thing we never really get is, in the end, Max and Holly like should be really close. And they probably are. I'm sure they are. But I almost wanted them to be a little closer. Have a moment where we see that there is some, hey, checking on you or something, like even at the graduation. I don't think we get that. But I feel like when we see this moment, it's something that we could have had or should have had or I would have liked to have seen. But meanwhile, she has to tell this dumb Mary girl, "No, I am not the monster." She says she can prove it, and obviously I believe her. So while the Mr. What's-It Henry, in the Camazotz world, he was just flung out of his house, within the house within his mind, his actual body is still in the abyss, and now so are our heroes, as we see Nancy punch through the rift and climb out into the abyss. And she's there looking like friggin' Ripley with a machine gun. And she gives it's all clear to the group. I love that she's like, yeah, I'm the one going through first. I'm the one that's doing this. She is clearly the leader. Dustin goes through next. And to be honest, I was a little nervous for him climbing up on the rift. Even after, they just went, everything they just went through. I'm thinking, couldn't they let the abyss get just a little closer? Because I'm not even sure I'd be able to pull myself up from the beanstalk, from the radio tower into the abyss. But they all get through and they look out into the wide expanse of the nothingness that is the void.
Holy shit.
Does this officially make us space travelers?
Interdimensional space travelers.
Suck it, Armstrong.
Exactly, Neil Armstrong. Suck it. So we return to Camazotz, and Henry has gotten back to his feet, and he heads back into the house, and he seems a little upset, probably from because of what just happened, but also all the children are gone. Eleven's standing there, though. She tells him it's over, and I like that he just asks calmly. He says, "Where are they?" Just very matter of fact, doesn't lose his cool yet. And she tells him that they're with Max and they're safe. I think that got him a little more upset because then, boom, he uses his powers and he sucks her right over.
Where are they?
I told you. With Max. Far away from here. You can't believe it, can you? That they would ever see through your lies.
Why can't he see us?
Because Mr. What's-It isn't the only one with magic powers.
So this was all part of the plan to show the kids just how evil Henry actually is. Because, in fact, the kids are not gone. They're right there in the dining room, but they are hidden thanks to, and I guess I have to give credit where credit is due, Mr. What's-It isn't the only one with magic powers. Got to give thanks to Kali for making the room look like it's empty. And I also have to give credit to 11 for standing there and basically she didn't know that he was going to, power her over and have her stand pull her up against him like that. But she knew that if they weren't going to kill him, she knew that they had to get it out of him for him to confess and kind of show what's going on, so that these kids would actually believe, oh crap, we were wrong the entire time, and Holly was right the entire time. What a bunch of doofuses we are. And if him just looking a little scary isn't enough. Henry taunts 11, saying, "Oh, you're stronger, huh? Well, so am I." And then he makes that disgusting claw, and he's about to see into 11's mind. And now the kids know for sure it's him. He's the black thing. Everything Holly told them was true. He's trying to destroy their world, but he can't do it, not without them. So they need to get the hell out of there right now. And they run out as Henry sees into 11's mind, sees everything 11 has planned, going to the lab, seeing Kali. He now knows that Kali is there, so he lets go of 11 and he walks right through the illusion, but he sees the room is empty because Max and the kids have escaped. They're running from the house, and that distraction allows 11 to use her powers to go bazam and knock Henry on his ass, and for Kali to come in with a knife ready to stab him. And then she got too cute, wasted a moment to say, "Hello, brother," giving Henry more than enough time to magically escape. But to be fair, if she did stab him, like, I'm wondering, would he die or would he just wake up in the abyss? Like, so if you die, if you're killed in the dream world, do you die in, well, I guess it's his mind. Like, it's crazy. I don't know what would happen, but we don't know because he's gone. And we go back to the abyss. We see the crew is walking along looking for, well, I'm not even sure they know what they're looking for, but they're looking for something. And as they're walking along, they're talking. Lucas comments how the abyss isn't exactly what he was expecting. And Dustin brings up the hive mind and how Henry's monsters should be dead if Henry is dead. But like, that's a big if. They're like, if Henry's dead? And he's like, well, Elle broke the spell and stopped the abyss, but we don't know if he's dead. They might still be fighting. And you could see when Dustin said this, that Mike was a little concerned about this. Will actually could see it. So he tries to, put him at ease, put a positive spin on things. He's like, I'm sure it's fine. And we also see Steve taking a moment to talk to Jonathan. He's like, hey, I thought I was a goner back there, but hey, I owe you one.
Look, just because I don't like you doesn't mean I want you dead. And I've got a feeling we're gonna need you up here.
I don't blame you, by the way, for not liking me. I can be a real prick sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, same. Look, Steve, when I was away in California, you were there for Nancy, when I couldn't be. And I thought that, that was why things were off with us. But the truth is, our problems had nothing to do with you. Just took me a long time to figure that out. And to let her go.
If we hadn't been so busy fighting, I probably could have saved you a little bit of time, because I've known for a while now, me and Nance, we're never really in the cards. She's independent. She's got to get out there, and I don't know, I want to...
6 little nuggets?
She told you that? You think it would have been better if I'd said 4?
Maybe just not calling them nuggets.
Right. Listen, bottom line, end of the day, I'd rather have her as a friend than nothing at all. She's just really...
special.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can agree on one thing.
Yeah, I guess so. I still don't like you, though.
Oh, I wouldn't want it any other way.
To me, that's about as much closure as you're going to get on these two being quote unquote enemies. And it's as much as I need. Steve, he had to thank Jonathan just because of the enormity of what happened. He felt like he couldn't let it be unsaid. But I like that Jonathan still admits he doesn't like him, and Steve can't blame him. Jonathan lets Steve know he wasn't to blame for anything to do with Nancy, and both of them realize that she's special, and just having her in their lives as a friend is better than not having her at all. At that point, Robin yells at them like, hey, what you call them, lovebirds or something like that. She's like, you come over, you got to see something. And there it is. They all look and they see Vecna's lair. That's what Will saw in his vision. So what are they waiting for? And they march on towards that giant structure. Again, heroic. I'd be like, that's it. That's what I saw in my dream. Wait a second. Maybe let's have a plan. Let's go back and get reinforcements. We'll climb down back through the beanstalk, go back to the Upside Down, tell the military they'll come back with some guns and stuff, more guns, and maybe then we could go. But of course, that's me. I'm not the hero. I am the guy who knows the hero. Hey, I know that guy. He's a hero. Oh, you guys are heroes? No. He is, not me. That's why these friends are the heroes. And you know what? They know the kids or they assume the kids are there based on the fact that Will saw this in their vision. And if the kids are there, that means most importantly, yeah, all the kids are important, sure. But most importantly, Holly's there and they need to go get their sister. The Wheelers need little Holly back. So they head on head first into danger. In Camazotz, Max and the kids are making their way towards the cave to be safe from Henry. And Derek is slowing them down and, being the hero he is, he tells them, go on without me, leave, save yourself. Again, I would joke and say that I would be Derek, the chubby kid who was, at the end keeping, slowing everyone down. But I'd be like, don't leave me. Please help me. Pull me along. Put me on your shoulders. Put me on your back. Please help me. I'm very slow and I do not want to be captured by this evil wizard man. But at that moment, they hear something. Luckily, thankfully, it's just Collie and Eleven. They say that Henry vanished. And Max figures, well, that means he went back into the real world. So she tells them all to head for the cave and leads them on. Now, did he go back to the real world? That's what I'm not sure about, right? Like, I'm trying to make sense of this next scene that we see, because we go back to the lab where Hopper is calling out to Dustin or Lucas, wanted to hear any updates from anybody, but he's hearing nothing. And then he looks over and he sees these barrels. And for some reason, it makes him drop his walkie. And he walks over to see these barrels. And I didn't realize these barrels weren't there before. And they say herbicide 1966 VN, which I assume is short for Vietnam. These are barrels of Agent Orange, which was used during the Vietnam War. And that's the thing that caused major health issues. Hopper talked about it when they were in prison with Dimitri. He was talking about, mixing these chemicals and everything. And that is what he truly believed caused his daughter's sickness. And then all of a sudden, there she is. He's seeing his own daughter in that room, in that hospital bed. She looks right at him and she says, you knew this would happen, just like you know what will happen to her. Then he sees a vision of Kali telling Eleven the plan on the only way that they can truly end this is to stay in the Upside Down when it vanishes, so that they will vanish too. And how is he seeing these visions? Why is he seeing these visions? Because of him.
He's going to do it, Jim. He's going to end her life.
Show yourself! Show yourself, you lying bastard!
I am many things, but I am not a liar. I have seen into her mind, and now I have seen into yours. What rage it holds. One daughter dead because of you, and soon another.
Show yourself!
You are as you fear. You are the curse.
Uh-oh. That's not good. Okay, so Henry left Camazotz. when Kali went to stab him, after seeing into Eleven's mind. So then he went into Hopper's mind and used that information, right? So he's not actually there, obviously, because when Hopper sees him and he shoots, there's no one actually there. There's no one to get shot. So the physical form of Vecna is still in his lair, still in the abyss. But because of his connection to L, I believe he was able to use that to reach out to Hopper. Because he can reach people. It doesn't have to just be, someone in the abyss. I mean, look at everything that happened with Fred and with Patrick and with Chrissy. So he's able to do that, and he gets to Hopper this way. And this is the first time, the one and only time, that Hopper sees Vecna, right? I think so. And Jim wastes no time. You heard it. He empties his guns into Vecna. Bang, 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 bang. Only when the smoke clears, he's not there because he was never there. Instead, Jim sees water on the ground. And when I tell you, I have flashbacks of that right now because, ladies and gentlemen, today I took my dog out. I rinsed off something I had for lunch. I went to fill it up in the sink. I took my dog out, went for a walk, came back, forgot that I left the sink on. And the fact that I left the sink plugged up so that it would fill up with some water. Well, I basically flooded my kitchen. It was worse actually than what Jim saw with the water on the ground. There was water everywhere. It was reaching towards my computer. My plugs. I thankfully got it. It went into the basement. I came back walking my dog, and I look and I go, why is there water outside the house, like smoky, soapy water? There's something wrong with the wash machine. And then I thought, oh no, just like Hopper. Oh no. And I ran in, and unfortunately, it wasn't a vision. It was very real. The sink was overflowing, and there was water all over the counter, all over the floor. There was water underneath and where my pots and pans are. I have a roundabout, like a little one of those things that spin like a cabinet, filled with water. I threw away a bunch of stuff. It was a nightmare, but probably not as much of a nightmare as what Jim thinks he just saw, because he shoots. Vecna's not there. He sees all these this water, and he thinks, oh no, I just shot through the tank and there's water. How would I have done that? He opens the door and he sees the glass. The glass is shot through, and in the water, 11 is floating, bleeding. She looks dead, and he goes crazy. He just starts smashing the glass. Bam, bam, bam. And Camazot's the girls hear the smashing. 11's like she knows she's not dead, so we see her, so we know this isn't happening. So he's like, what the hell's going? She's wondering what's going on. Then Hopper breaks through the glass, and the water dumps out everywhere in the lab, breaking 11's concentration, and then she immediately disappears into Camazot's. Because of that, because of the connection with Kali and with Max, that Kali then disappears, and then there's only like a second. They're the only reason Max is there. 2 seconds later, Max yells at them, get to the cave, but before she can even finish it, she disappears as well. And so everyone, all the kids are left alone, but Max wakes up. She's like, she wakes up with a gasp, a loud gasp, a gasp loud enough to be heard by those asshole soldiers in the radio station. But back in the upside down lab, Hopper grabs 11. He pulls her from the tank, and there isn't anything. There's not a scratch on her. She's completely fine. And she looks at him and she's like, what have you done? What have you done? So at the radio station, the soldiers and Kay pull back the shelf to see Vicky and Max and the hidden stairway. And now all those jerks go downstairs and they see everything. They know their entire plan now, and they know where all of them are. Now, if it was me, I'd be like, oh, cool, they're about to save us. But they don't seem to question or care about the whole abyss thing, about anything they see about wormholes. They don't seem to care about any of this. All they're focused on is still getting 11 and still trying to mass produce super soldiers. Back in Camazot's, the kids are starting to panic. All of them, except for one. except for Holly.
You just poofed away like a goddamn ghost! Was it the black thing? Did the black thing take them? Probably.
It's enough! We keep to the plan. Get to the cave. The black thing can't hurt us there. So follow me, keep quiet, and stay close. Let's go!
Come on, guys! Hurry!
I mean, come on. Wheelers are just born natural leaders. It seems that way, doesn't it? Like, she doesn't freak out. She doesn't lose her cool. She uses her knowledge and her experience to snap those kids into shape. And she's like, follow me, I know the way. And she leads them on towards the cave. Stick to the plan. Back in the lab, Kali thinks they should go back in and help the kids out. But Levin says, without the bath, she just can't. She doesn't have it in her. At this point, they have to get to the abyss, join the others, and she will kill him there. Kali says, the worlds will collide long before we reach them. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Elle already stopped that. And she trusts Dustin's theory that without the kids, Henry can't do anything about it. And Kali's like, well, that's a lot of ifs. And I love that Elle's finally not kowtowing to her. She's like, well, what do you want me to do? What do you want to do? Like, yeah, what the hell, girl? She's doing her best. And she's like, Levin says, we can't give up now. And Hopper couldn't hold back his feelings. He's like, isn't that what you're doing? Giving up? Henry showed me your plan. She tries to pass it off as Henry's lying and that you fell for it. And, well, yeah, he fell for it as far as, the whole shooting you in the tank thing. But now, Hopper says, okay, then look me in the eye and tell me you don't plan on killing yourself tonight. She tries to dismiss the entire train of thought, but he's like, I won't detonate it. I will not detonate the C4 until I know you are safe with the others out of here and back into Hawkins. She's like, if we kill Henry and don't destroy the Upside Down, nothing matters. And he says, that's why I will destroy it once I know you're safe. And Elle's like, why are you doing this? And then I hate Kali all over again because she pulls Hopper's gun on him and says, because Henry's gotten to him and he's lost his mind. And she's like, wait, no, Kali, Eleven's like yelling, no, don't do it. And she says, no, this is bigger than him, Jane, bigger than all of us. And I love that Hopper doesn't give a crap about this kid holding a gun on him. He's like, yeah, okay, yeah, go ahead, great, shoot me. And Eleven says, if I'm alive, she tries to reason with Hopper, tries to tell him why she thinks she has to do what she has to do. If I'm alive, then so is Henry. And by that she means, if I'm alive, my blood is in me. That means that Henry can, you know what I mean? Like, he can be recreated because his blood is in me. And she says, I have to end the cycle.
You will, but not like this. Not with more violence. Not with more pain. There's already been so much pain. From the moment you were born, your mother was taken from you. Your childhood was taken from you. You've been attacked, manipulated, abused by terrible people. Life has been so unfair to you, so cruel. But you never let it break you, and I need you to fight, kid. I just need you to fight one last time. Fight for the happy days on the other side of this. Fight for a world beyond Hawkins. Fight for that day that you have a kid of your own, and you give her the life that you never had. For the day you get so angry because she invites some boy over and she won't keep the door open 3 inches. I know you don't believe you can have any of this. But I promise you, we will find a way to make it real. You will find a way to make it real. Because you have to. Because you deserve it.
Oh, I love that speech so much. It shows just how much he cares for this girl. He didn't even blink when Kali pulled the gun on him. He needed to say those things. He needed Elle to hear them. And at that moment, it really felt like those words hit home. Hell, even Kali lowered the gun. She seemed to be like, oh, maybe he has a point. Like, it's almost like he got to her as well. And that sweet moment is abruptly ended when Murray calls them on the walkie to let them know that they have company. You know what? You know who's here, right? General Prickface and his band of military D-bags are pulling up outside the lab. And oh shit, they got those kryptonite things. Ooh, that's not good. Back in Kamazotz, the kids make it to the cave. Once again, they're safe. Whew. And of course, Holly's standing at the entrance, making sure all of them get through safely. Oh, wait a second. Where's Derek? Where's Derek? She doesn't just call his name. I'd be like, Derek, we're all here at the cave. Hurry, come on, you can get here. Nope. She runs back to get him. Again, Wheeler, hero. Me, not. I couldn't think of anything worse than just not. And as I said, Derek is me, except for the fact when he said, go on without me. But I was the chubby kid during basketball practice or track practice. Don't be impressed. Track, I was throwing the shot, but it wasn't like I was running. But if we had to run, I was always the last one running. I was always out of breath. Now I do 5Ks, and guess what? I'm one of the last ones to win, or not win. I'm the one of the last ones to finish, and I'm always out of breath, but I'm still doing it, damn it. And I didn't get the glasses like Derek until college, and my hair was mostly spiked during that time. But I see a lot of that delightful dipshit in me. That is definitely for sure. And he is, as he's running, he sees an open window. It's the same type of thing that Max and Holly used to escape out of Kamazotz originally, only this time Henry's using them to go from that hellscape back in to Kamazotz. And again, he's the villain, so you think, oh, he doesn't really need to run. He's walking at first, but then boom, he takes off. And we finally see Henry do some sprinting. Like, he definitely would have earned his physical fitness scout badge with that speed. Thankfully, Holly the heroic came back to get Derek, to keep him moving, keep going. But as they almost made it to the cave, Henry lashed out with that gross vine hand, bazam! And he's like, almost like he's in Mortal Kombat, get over here. And he grabs Holly by the leg. Thankfully, Derek grabs onto Holly's hand, and they're doing a tug of war with a Wheeler in the middle, and he's pulling her close enough. He gets her close enough to the cave that Henry just lets go, completely just recoils his hand rather than even come close to crossing into the cave. And Holly and Derek scramble deeper into safety, but not before Derek has a wonderful message for old Mr. Whatsit.
Suck my fat one!
A flip of the bird and a message of hope for old dear Henry, and I can only imagine the theater audiences going nuts with that moment. Holly and Derek made it to Max's little hideout, and they were greeted by their friends. Holly said they're safe now, and the girls all hug Holly, including the friend who, tried to choke her originally, but the one that she bashed with a boombox. To be young again and to forgive and forget. They're safe for now. Back in the Abyss, there's a pretty funny moment between the older Wheeler siblings. Mike pleads his case to Nancy for one of her guns. He needs something to protect himself. You could see it was bothering him. He kept looking at all her guns. And she actually did. Holy shit, she actually gave him one. And he was satisfied. And then Lucas let him know, yeah, dude, those are flares. She gave you a flare gun. And as they walk along, they don't even notice that he starts slowing down. And his eyes, it almost looks like his eyes start to lose focus because he is seeing in the hive mind again. He is seeing through Henry's eyes, and now he knows they're alive. So now they know they're not just going in there to save the kids, but Vecna is most likely in there as well. Back in his own mind, Henry tries to muster up the strength to pass into the cave, to pass into that one memory he fears the most. And as much as I complained about this scene and its connection to the stage play, I kind of have to take it back here because they do end up giving us more. Not every answer, not every explanation, but we definitely get more here, and that is really all I was hoping for. We see Henry is reliving his memory as a child when he sort of, brained that scientist with the stone to smash him over and over with that, and just the guy who had the briefcase, the guy who shot him through the hand. Up until this point, Henry seems to be, he's just a normal boy, but there's something in that briefcase that changed him. And we see Henry struggling, screaming as he's forcing himself deeper into the cave. And we see Will in the abyss also struggling as his connection to the hive mind is still intact. The kids in the cave, they hear screaming. And they were like, wait, Holly, they thought Holly said that they were safe. She tells them to stay there. And again, she goes to investigate. Hello, the Holly, the heroic, there's no question anymore. She actually goes to see what's going on. She turns the corner, and there is Henry down on his knees in pain. In the abyss, we see Will is seeing all of this. He tells them Henry's made it to the cave. In Camazotz, do they even know? Maybe Max filled them in, so they know about the cave. And in Camazotz, Holly runs back to tell them that he's coming, and they need to run. So she gets them all to run out through that cave opening out into the desert area. We're going back and forth. In the abyss, Mike is asking about 11, Kali, Max, but Will says they're alone. They're all alone. It's just the kids. Because again, everyone in the abyss has no idea. Will is the only conduit to what's been going on with 11 and with Kali and with Max and with Hopper. They left them. They don't know what's going on. They just know that whatever 11 did, it was enough to stop the worlds from, smashing into each other. So he tells them, that he's going to try to stop him with his powers, but they need to keep going. Go. They all head off further into the abyss, except for Joyce, who stays behind with Will. You can see Mike is the most hesitant to leave his best friend, but he knows what has to be done, so he heads off with the rest of them. So we go back to the Upside Down lab, and the soldiers arrive. They head inside. Hop is really just trying to find a way out for them, and then the hedgehogs turn on. The kryptonite is activated. Both Elle and Kali drop to their knees. They're covering their ears. You can see they're both in terrible pain, terrible distress. There's a helicopter, probably, I was thinking, the same helicopter that Hopper wanted to steal in the first place. Now, if they stole that helicopter, again, though, how would they fly through? So it wouldn't have worked. It was a crazy idea, but it would have been awesome to see. But now it's right outside, and it's pointing that hedgehog right at the building. On the roof of the building, Murray sees it. He knows, oh God, he knows they're in trouble. And inside the building, Hopper picks up 11. It almost seemed a little cold, but he picks up 11 and he runs off and he leaves Kali behind in pain, screaming. And this is tough because we think of Kali as an older, sister to 11. But when you see her there and her head's shaved, she's still a kid. So it's like Hopper left this girl who, he doesn't fully trust, nor should he fully trust, unfortunately. And he just kind of leaves her there. So at a certain point, I felt bad about it. But at the same time, and even though I've been very critical of Kali, it's still a person. But Hopper, at his thinking is, I need to protect 11. And how can I protect both of them? I can't carry both of them out of here. So, hey, kiddo, you're coming with me. We cut very quickly back to Camazotz. We are very frantically going all over the place. Holly got the kids to the mine shaft, and she's getting them down on the ladder. But when she looks back, she sees Henry. Henry is pushing his way through the discomfort he was feeling. He is coming straight for them, and he does not seem happy at all. We cut right back to the lab. Hopper is still trying to figure a way to get out of there. Murray's trying to get him on the walkie, trying to contact him, trying to get through to him. And then he happens to look over at, all those explosives, right? The soldiers are now on the hunt inside the building, but they walk right by the room where Jim and 11 are hiding in the very same room that Nancy and Jonathan were trapped in, based on that giant hole in the wall that Steve punched through to get them to safety. Elle, still very much in pain, mentions Kali, and you could see the wheels turning in Hopper's mind about, like, what do I do? We then cut over to see Kali. She is crawling along. She is in so much pain, and one of the soldiers just grabs her and pulls her up to her feet. He's like, your friends just left you, huh? Not very nice. And, okay, as much as I've disagreed with Kali a lot with this season, when she spits right in this douchebag's face, I am 100% with you, girl. And they're about to take her. They're about to take her away when bing, bang, boom, Hopper shoots and kills all of them. Some at close range. Like, you can see Hopper can be a killing machine when he wants to. He's kind of like John Wick level. Like, it's crazy. He's, that quick, it's almost like ballet of violence where you get right up close with the gun, bing, bang, boom. There's no wasted movements. It's like, I am going to kill all of you. And then he goes right over to Kali and he's like, I got you. And it was like, oh, his kind of reassurance to this kid, look, you may not agree with me and I may not agree with you, but you're still someone who's very important to my daughter. I know you're her sister, but she is my daughter. And you're still someone very important to her. And so I'm not going to let you go. Now, again, that being said, if 11 wasn't that way, would he have gone back? I'm not sure. Unfortunately, though, he doesn't actually save her. He attempts to save her because then asshole Akers shows up to ruin the fun. He's like, bam, pops Hopper right in the face with the butt of his rifle. We then jump back to Camazotz. Holly got them to the bottom of the shaft, and she gets down there as well, and she tells them to keep their eyes on her. Nothing they see here is real. It can't hurt them, and so just keep their eyes on her. And so then they walk right by the memory where Henry killed that scientist.
Holy shit balls! Eyes on me, Derek!
Oh, come on, Derek. She said eyes on her. What are you doing? She brings them past that memory and to the way out to that opening to the red world of Henry's mind, the kind of the last step before escaping. She tells them to all go through there on the other side and wait for her. So we are back at the lab, and Akers and his men take Kali and Hopper into a room, throw Kali right down on the ground, and they stick Hopper in a chair. He demands to know where 11 is, or he'll kill Kali. What does it say? Where the freak is? Hop's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. It's just us. And Akers, he's not buying it. He shoots a warning shot, says he's not effing around. Okay, well, maybe he didn't use those words. I thought it means he's not effing around, but he definitely seems to mean business. He screams, where is she? And where is she? She's actually struggling, but slowly making her way towards them. She's not hiding. She's not waiting to hopefully they'll be okay. She is going to find them. Meanwhile, upstairs on the roof, Murray goddamn Bauman has an idea that seems to include a grenade and some C4 explosives, or a grenade and a timer. Whatever it is, whatever he has planned, it includes explosives.
Oh, what are you doing, Murray? This is not a good plan. This is crazy. Okay, here goes absolutely nothing.
One last chance. Where is she?
With all the shit I've given her, I love that when Hop looks down at Kali, even with a gun pointed at her, she gives a slight shake of the head as if to say, you cannot tell them.
Go to hell.
Okay, then.
He starts to pull the trigger, and everything just goes in slow motion. As he's pulling the trigger, as he's about to shoot this girl, Murray, like friggin' John McClane, pulls the pin out of this grenade with the C4 or whatever it is. It's tied together as a belt. He pulls the pin and he tosses it right at the helicopter. And boom! Did anybody for a second thought that Murray was jumping off with the bomb to sacrifice himself? For a second, I thought that's what he was doing. So the helicopter explodes into a massive fireball, blowing glass and debris into the building, knocking all the soldiers on their ass. But what that also means, never mind taking the soldiers down, taking the helicopter out, it also took the kryptonite out. So the soldiers get to their feet and boom, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead. Snap neck, snap neck, snap neck, snap neck, bing, bang, bing, bang, boom, dead. Leaving Akers. Turning, he sees 11. She's holding her hand up. He's pointing the gun, trying to shoot her, but the gun goes back. He has no control over it, and then you're dead. Yes, yes, yes. Did we all cheer for that? I know I did. I'm cheering just thinking about it right now. This guy who's been on her ass since day one, this guy who's been calling her a freak every chance he can get, this guy now looks at this girl he's called a freak, and he can't do a goddamn thing about it. This gun is pointed at her, and he's looking like, oh, no, please, no. Like, almost like you could see the fear in his eye. I absolutely loved it. And boom, off with his head. He is dead. I loved it. I can't say enough how awesome it was for this guy to be taken out. Yes, all those other soldiers, all those other a-holes, bing, bang. I love the quick snap of the neck. It was like, oh yeah, 11, she's got her powers back. She's not being, she's not being controlled by this kryptonite, by this hedgehog now. And all of that's very impersonal. But for Akers, it was very personal, right in your face, eye to eye. It's like, hello, Mr. Akers. What have I called him? Sergeant Asshole, Admiral Jerkface, whatever it is, GI Jerk, all those things. I am the one who is going to kill you. Here's the thing. 11's a teenager, right? And yet she has no problem taking out every single one of these government people. And you know why? Because they're all evil, and I love it. Even the guy who leaned over that when she made that jump, when she leapt to the guard stand, she's like, sorry, snap of the neck. These guys, they all deserved it. And especially Akers. Chef's kiss. My compliments to the chef for absolutely destroying every single one of these people. And thank you again to Murray for making it all possible. Big shout out to Murray. However, it's not all good, because it turns out Kali did get shot. This girl who has been, she's been, I would say, probably crapped on a lot this season, especially by me. I'm not going to say, oh, everyone was unfair to her. I did not like the way she was too matter of fact. I did not like her plan for 11. I did not like the way she treated Hopper. And yes, she called her Jane, and that's fine. That's what she knew her as, and that's okay. But I didn't like the way that she wasn't with the rest of the group. She didn't join in. She was, no, we have to do this. And even if there is logic to her decision making, I didn't like it. And I don't want, I didn't even like that she put this into 11's head, this whole idea of, Dr. K and future Dr. Ks and all of it coming back to you. She is still, I'll say it, she is still to blame for a lot of what is to come, right? And she's shot. So it turns out, as I said, Kali did get shot. 11 comes over. She's like, no. And, Hopper's like, put pressure on the wound. And they're like, hang in there. You'll be okay. Okay, you'll be okay. And she says, I'm not going to make it. And she says, don't cry, Jane. My story was always going to end here. And that's her saying she knew she was always going to stay in the Upside Down. So the fact that she died this way, you could see it in her face. Like, she was in pain, but she wasn't completely like, oh no, because this was kind of her plan for her in the first place, right? So she had a plan for her and 11. It seemed like 11 was weighing the options, And for Kali, it wasn't the way she wanted it to happen, but the end result, unfortunately, tragically, is kind of what she was going for in the first place. But what does that mean for Eleven and for what she's put into Eleven's head? Hopper runs off to go get a bag, comes back, and by that time, Kali is gone. She's dead. Right? Right? I mean, we saw her die right there. Has to be, right? We see a quick moment in the abyss where all of them, well, almost all of them, not Joyce and Will, but the rest of them, they're all running straight for Vecna's lair, with Nancy, of course, leading the way because she's a leader. Straight for Holly, straight for all the other kids. Then we jump back to Camazotz, where Henry, having overcome his fear of entering the cave, has now made his way down into the mine shaft. He calls out for Holly, who decides to try to be more heroic, but maybe not the best time for these heroics, as she jumps out with the fireplace poker and boom, smashes Henry right in the face, but he stops her from doing any more damage and he throws her back. He approaches her to do more damage when he hears what he feared most. That memory. The older Henry is now seeing the younger Henry. Seeing that younger Henry confront the man. Seeing that man shoot Henry through his hand, with the older Henry mimicking that same movement of his hand getting shot and thrown back. Also, Will, up in the abyss, he's tapped into the hive mind and he's mimicking the same movement.
What's happening?
He's in a memory now, and he's scared. He's so scared.
And we can see that fear. We can see it right on Henry's face. Back at the lab, Hopper and Eleven make it to the roof with an exuberant Murray still high from blowing up the helicopter. He's like all excited, and it takes him a moment to realize that neither of them seem to be that happy. And then he realizes Kali isn't there. And he tells Elle, I'm so sorry. But Elle quickly changes her focus to the rock formations in the sky. She thinks she can jump up there, like jump to those boulders and then jump up into the abyss, kind of as a shortcut. I mean, yes, we did see her jump into the lab, but this seems really way high up there. But she does seem confident. And Hopper's like, okay, but what if you fail? She said, I won't. Then he says, okay, what if you make it? She says, I kill him. And you know what he wants to know. It's like, oh, you'll kill him? Then what?
When I was a kid, and you found me in the woods, I was scared. Really scared.
We see a flashback of when he found her in the woods.
I didn't understand the world. I didn't understand people.
A flashback of them at the cabin, setting up a tripwire.
You took me in.
See them playing with the CB radio.
Raised me. Protected me.
There's a shot of him. Remember him dancing awkwardly in the cabin, jokingly. Just so many things they've had together. Wonderful memories.
You became my dad.
The look on Hopper's face, the acting by David Harbour here is incredible.
But I'm not a kid anymore.
And then she goes up and she gives him Sarah's hair tie. The thing that he cherished that he gave to her.
And I'm not Sarah.
It's now her way of kind of saying, this is for you in case I don't make it back.
She didn't have a choice to make. but I do. And I need you to trust me to make the right choice.
I thought I did trust you. Maybe I still do. I don't know.
I need you to believe in me.
Are you talking to me, 11? Because I do believe in you. I do believe. So she's heading up to the abyss, and we're heading back to Camazotz. We see again young Henry bashing the brains in of that poor, poor man who you could see actually is still kind of breathing a bit. So he's not completely dead. And now we do get to see what was in that briefcase, as does the older Henry, as he watches his younger self open the case and see what looks like a glowing rock. And was it sitting in sand? Look, I have to be honest. I haven't come across many glowing rocks in my day, but my first instinct wouldn't be to pick it up. But that's what this kid does. And the glow to me is very reminiscent of the glow we've seen around the many gates and rifts between the Upside Down and our world, or actually even the Upside Down and the Abyss. Young Henry seems transfixed by the stone. His eyes open wider as he looks at the stone, and black smoke seems to start emanating from it. He then has a vision that looks a lot like the Abyss. And we see this kind of swirling smoke that looks like it's almost has some sort of spidery legs, like it seems like it's somewhat familiar, but we've never quite seen anything like this, and it seems to communicate directly into Henry's mind. We hear the words, "Find me." And there are definitely a couple voices in there. There's not just one. Then the smoke seems to enter Henry into his bullet wound, and all hell breaks loose. Young Henry, old Henry, and Will, all their heads seem to snap back in like tremendous pain. And that man that Henry bashed his head in, that man is still alive.
You must resist it. It will consume you. It will consume all.
So Henry has this quick vision of the Mind Flayer. Definitely the Mind Flayer that we've seen in the past with the just like the black dark shadow. And then he snaps his hand out and he literally finishes the job of killing the man by basically blasting out his eyeballs. Like he's showing that he has powers already. It was very reminiscent, those eyeballs, of what we've seen with what Vecna years later does to Patrick, to Chrissy, to Fred, all those poor souls. He blasts their eyes out, and you could see that he's actually very scared about what he just saw, about what he just did. And he notices that even though his face is covered in the blood of this guy, there's some other blood on there. It's his own blood, as his nose is bleeding. And he runs away in panic, runs away, leaving old Henry there to just look upon this man. And Will, connected still through the hive mind, is seeing all of this, and he starts to tell Henry that he realizes this wasn't his fault.
It wasn't you. It was never you.
Leave me alone.
That's why the Mind Flayer didn't want you in the cave. It didn't want you to remember.
I said leave me alone.
You were just a kid like me. And it used you. It used you to bring it here. You're just like me, Henry. A vessel. But you can resist it. Help us fight it. Don't let it win, Henry, please. Don't let it win.
No. It showed me the truth.
We see some old flashbacks and we realize now why Henry is obsessed with spiders, why he drew the mind flayer.
It showed me that this world is broken. That man is broken.
Don't listen to it, Henry. It is controlling you right now.
We see Vecna now hanging in his lair, connected to that pulsating, beating sack. Wait, is it a sack or a heart?
It has never controlled me. And I never controlled it.
Outside in the abyss, we now see that this lair, this tree, this giant structure is starting to move.
Don't you see, William? I could have resisted it, but I chose to join it.
And as it moves, we realize it's not a structure. It was never a structure. It's not a lair. It is a being, and it is alive.
It needs me. And I need it.
It is the actual mind flayer.
We are one.
And it is pissed. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh my god, oh my god. In the abyss, we've just switched from a rescue mission to a kaiju movie. Okay, we are seeing the actual physical great giant monster, the same monster that got Henry to do his bidding all this time. All these years, I thought that Henry created the Mind Flayer and that he was the monster. He was the leader. He was the evil behind everything. But now it seems like he was just part or a partner to the great giant beast that called him. So I was trying to make sense of this. So I'm thinking that this beast called out to him all those years ago. And maybe it was the smoke we saw, like that was the same beast. And then Henry, when he went to finally see it, or he was finally sent there, I mean, he was forcibly sent there by 11. He took the dark particles and he turned it into the physical version of the monster. I love the giant monster thing, but I'm trying to figure out the logistics of it. Okay, so we see this smoky thing go, find me. And then it's like he finally gets there and it's like, okay, now we can take all these years to turn me into this giant monster. But no, because, well, maybe, geez, I'm trying to make sense because we see that monster almost show up behind the gate in season 2. We see like the smoke version of it dealing with Will and the Upside Down. And then I guess it's all connected to this as the giant, like there is no leader, maybe. As Henry said, we are one, which I love because it's like he was one all the way back in the Hawkins laboratory. He was one. When he was the orderly, he was one. When he was first brought in by Dr. Brenner, he became one. And now the way he said, we are one, I absolutely loved that because it was literal and figurative. And he's basically saying, like, we have this whole thing where you think Henry is a victim. And yes, to a degree, he is. He was just a kid, but Will tried to get through to him. And I think it would have been a little bit of a little corny if he was like, help me, Will. And then they get together and they defeat, the evil version, or they defeat the monster together, like anything like that. No, you've built this guy up as the big bad monster. So even if he isn't the hugest monster, he is connected to it. Like, he is kind of the beating heart in the monster, and he's using, he probably came up with the plan, let's get the worlds united. I'm going to get you onto Earth, and we can control Earth together. Maybe he is being used, but he doesn't feel that way, as he says, we are one, like they are a unit. They, like, one does not fully exist without the other. Vecna couldn't have his full powers, and this smoky monster couldn't turn into the beast. I don't know. And I don't even know if I care all that much. I do know that I loved it, and I loved his kind of like, oh, no, you think there's going to be like a reconciliation. You thought there was going to be a way for me to be forgiven, and I was going to, like, because he said, get out of my head, stop it. Like, you could see him starting to tear up. But when he's like, no, and he called him William, I was like, oh, yes. And he just says, no. It needs me, and I need it. Even if that's not the truth, he totally believes it. And when he says we are one, it is just wonderfully, wonderfully, wonderfully done. Even if I'm still, when I think about it, I'm trying to figure out, wait a second, how does this all work? I don't know if it matters. I don't know. And then maybe that's, if there are critics out there trying to make sense of it, I don't know. Who cares? I loved it. But if this monster wasn't or wouldn't have been created without Henry being banished and sent to the abyss from 11, then maybe 11, you need to get up there now and clean up that little mess you inadvertently started. But okay, first, the monster itself, I have to say, is pretty badass. It looks like kind of a giant spider with these pointer legs that almost remind me of a scorpion stinger. And our heroes, look, yes, they were running towards a lair, but now that they see that this lair is actually a giant monster, it's not a lair, it's a monster lair. It is just like, what do? Heroes also need to be smart. So you run so far away. And while they're running, Dustin almost bites it, but Lucas saves him. I was thinking maybe Steve would save him, but I'm glad Lucas got the save. The monster is literally so big that it basically surrounds them by itself. And it's like it steps in front of them, it steps behind them, and they realize, oh my God, there might be no place where we can go. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we see this giant rock smash up against it. And you can see that some bitch is definitely hurt, giving our friends enough time to get back to what they were doing, back to the smart thing, and that is running away. But then we see what caused the damage to that giant Uggo. 11. She's there. The creature turns all its attention her way. Like, it went from chasing these kids to all of a sudden turning everything to this adversary. And Mike and the others take notice. They see her there just standing with this. Remember the shot of her in 4 when she's standing with the helicopter? Awesome. This is even better. Oh, a helicopter? Sure. How about a giant monster? She stands there and she stands her ground. And then instead of just standing there, we see her charge right at the monster. And in one felt swoop, she leaps up at it. Now, at first I thought maybe she went in through the mouth. No. She uses her powers to rip a goddamn hole into this thing's chest, lands inside his little belly prison, and then with a swipe tears Vecna down from his perch. I mean, if that is not kick-ass, then nothing else is. The group watch on and they realize Elle is actually hurting this beast. It has to be because of the hive mind. She has to be fighting Vecna.
So, you truly do want to die?
And the fight is on. They push at each other, using their powers, and then Vecna shoots out that gross tree hand, and Elle dodges it. And I do like the way he says, you truly do want to die. It's not like him saying, oh, you're fighting me, so you obviously, you can't do it, so obviously you want to die. It's not he's not like provoking her. He's literally throwing her own words and thoughts back at her. Like, think about it. He saw into her mind and saw the plan that she was going to kill herself. And he used it against Hopper, and now he's using it here. Like, oh, you really do want to be dead? Well, I can help with that, because I am. And then outside, the others realize Elle is helping them. Maybe they should be helping her.
We have to help her. How? Okay, the hive mind works in both ways. If we hurt the mind flare, then we hurt Vecna.
What, hurt Godzilla over there?
The only way to damage anything of that scale, we spread out. Flank it on all sides, just chip away at its hit points.
Hit points? What you talking about, hit points?
There. One of us draws it to that canyon. The rest take positions on those cliffs. Ambush it from above.
It's just one question. Which one of us is bait?
I am.
Did you ever doubt for a second that Nancy would be the one to say that she is bait? Of course you are, Nancy Wheeler. You are an effing boss. And I do like that, you know, even with all this, these kids, they still talk in terms of Dungeons and Dragons, and Dustin saying, you know, the hit points, which is basically just, you know, the weak points. But he wouldn't call it weak points because that's not how he talks. He says hit points. And I love that Steve sounded like friggin' Arnold Jackson. He's like, hit points? What are you talking about, Willis? Like, what are you talking about? And no one else says anything. Lucas is like, this is what we can do. Because, yes, they're kids. And yes, all their... Well, no, not all there, but early on, all their battle, all their strategy, all their ways of fighting was through a game. It was game theory, though, and it gave them ideas. But I shouldn't say that's all of it, because they've been battling monsters for years, right there in Hawkins. So, you know, they don't sit, well, I don't know what we can do. Like, they literally come up with plans that they would probably do playing D&D. Like, we need to draw to this canyon and get on the cliffs, like ambush it from above. We need to just get it there, get it away, get it from someplace where we get it to someplace where we can actually, you know, make some damage, make an actual effort to get at this monster. But we need someone to draw it that way. And that's where Nancy friggin' Wheeler comes in.
Go! Go!
So the fight inside between Vecna and 11 is going back and forth. Outside, Nancy starts shooting at this giant monster. She yells at all of them to go, leaving Nancy as the lone bait running along as the monster chases only her now, leaving the others to get to the cliffs.
No, there's nothing we can do. Come on, please.
Inside the monster, the fight continues. Elle throws some sand, like, I don't know, is that called stomach sand? Right into Vecna's face as a diversion as they just keep going back and forth at each other. The monster almost reaches Nancy right before she makes it into the canyon, and still it smashes through and gets closer and closer to her as she shoots at it, and it gets closer and closer, and eventually she just covers her head and is just feet away, and then... Flame on! They made it to the cliffs, and Jonathan lights that sucker up with a flamethrower while Robin is throwing Molotov cocktails at it. That was enough to cause Vecna to be thrown off just a bit to give 11 the upper hand. She grabs him in her power and has him floating there in front of her. Nancy keeps shooting. Jonathan keeps shooting. Lucas shoots that flammable fuel, and Mike, hey, that flare gun did come in handy. He lights up some of that gas. More and more fire. Then Dustin and Steve run under the monster with their knife spears.
Ready, you son of a bitch! Ready!
They start stabbing at the fleshy underbelly, and like, were those eggs that I saw? Whatever it was pretty gross. So they're stabbing, and they're also stabbing, and all kinds of gross guts and goo are falling all over them. Inside, Elle is forcing Vecna's frozen body onto one of those spike spire things, pushing it closer and closer. But Vecna is not done yet. He reaches out one last time with that super duper gross claw right up to 11, but the hand does not make it. The claw seems to just stop. Vecna is pushing and pushing, but he can't seem to reach out any further. And now we see why. Will the Wise has hacked into Vecna, hacked into the hive mind, his eyes white, his nose bleeding, his hand reaching out.
I'm not afraid anymore.
We see now they're all fighting back. They're all continuing the onslaught, and it is working.
We're not afraid of you.
Will twists his hands, and telepathically he twists and rips off Vecna's arm. Then 11 shoves him back onto the spike, impaling him there. That pain, along with everything the kids have been doing to hold off the Mind Flayer, seems to have been too much for the beast, and it collapses into a fiery mess. Inside that pulsating heart that Vecna was attached to, it seems to shrivel up. It seems to stop. The beast is dead. Nancy runs inside what's left of that beast in that stomach area where the big fight was going on, the inside fight, and embraces Elle, and then she sees Holly. She runs over, disconnects the hose, and rips Holly free. It takes a minute, but Holly comes to, and she coughs up those dark particles, and she's saved. She coughs up the particles again. This is the second time because she got reconnected. She is saved. Mike and the others come in next, and the three Wheeler siblings are reunited. Reunited, and it feels so good. One by one, they free all the other kids. Steve freed Derek, who gives him a big hug. And you can see Steve is like, it's all right. It's all right. Like, very comforting, very much that big brother, father figure that he's become over the years. But it's not fully over yet, is it? The beast is dead. The giant kaiju Mind Flayer is dead. But Derek and Steve notice they hear some gurgling, some blood-filled breathing. They look over, and there on that spike lays Vecna, still clinging on to life. Joyce and Jonathan join them inside now, and they all start to notice, and they all see this monster, this evil that did everything to them. Yes, maybe he was recruited by the Mind Flayer, but you heard him. We are one. He is not a victim. Not anymore. They slowly all make their way over to him, some seeing him for the very first time as he just kind of hangs there, sprawled out, coughing. He actually looks quite helpless now. And he turns and he looks at Joyce. And she has this flashback of everything this monster did to her son. What it did to the great Bob Newby. The pain he caused to all of them. But with everything he did, with all the horror he brought to the Byers, and the horror and death he brought to Hawkins, they were the ones standing around him as he was suffering, as he was dying. They were the ones that came out on top. They were the victors. And Joyce, standing there, very calmly, takes the axe off her shoulder and says,
"You fucked with the wrong family."
Vecna gives one last defiant growl as Joyce whips the axe right into his neck. We're seeing flashbacks of all the horror he caused as Joyce chops and chops away. Holly seeing her mom attacked. Jonathan and Joyce dealing with a young Will almost dying. Lucas holding a dying Max in his arms. Nancy thinking of Barb, Dustin thinking of Eddie, Mike thinking of losing 11 all the way back at the beginning, 11 thinking of the Rainbow Room and the Hawkins lab, and Will thinking back to when he was first taken, thinking to when the Mind Flayer entered him. Off with his head! They did it. He is done. The evil is no more. We go back to the Upside Down, back to the lab where Murray and Hopper have just kind of been waiting. Finally, they get a call on the walkie.
Chief, you copy? Chief?
Yeah, I copy. What's going on?
Well, the noseless bastard's toast. We're back in the Upside Down, and we have the kids.
How is everybody? Is everybody okay?
Yeah, the party took a hell of a beating, but we're okay.
What about Elle?
The whole party. So what do we say you hit the music, old man? Destroy the Upside Down once and for all. Let's ditch this hellscape.
Yeah, copy that.
All right, the countdown begins.
So Murray puts a record on, and the plan is as the record spins and the needle gets closer and closer to the center, so does the mechanism get closer to trigger the explosion. And the album they ended up going with is side 2 of Prince's 1984 epic album Purple Rain, which of course opens with the gloomy pop hit When Doves Cry and ends with the titular classic and to me one of the best songs ever written, Purple Rain. Total runtime for that side of the album is 21 minutes and 55 seconds, giving our heroes just under 22 minutes to get the hell out of the Upside Down. Steve drives Murray's truck with almost everyone in the back, and they're all in a good mood and celebrating, and the kids seem to be really well adjusted. You know, I would have been rocking back and forth in the corner, like sucking my thumb, my knees held up to my chin, but they seem to be doing okay. And I like that Derek is smiling at who he claims is his best friend, and Mike is like, okay, yeah, right, okay, yeah, hi. They ended up getting passed by a beeping Humvee as Murray and Hopper speed right by, both so happy and ready to get back to real life. And I knew the moment Murray said home sweet home, I just had this feeling as they approach their exit to the Maxi that things felt too good to be true, and I was right. Maybe I'm just like my mother. She's never satisfied. What am I not going to sing Prince while this song is playing? That's impossible. Even with the stress of what just happened, because as they drive through the gate, they are immediately stopped by tire spikes in the road, and they are surrounded by military. Both trucks go through. They almost lose control. They're stopped, just surrounded by everybody. They get pulled out of the trucks with guns drawn, guns pointed at them. They're thrown up against the truck, and they're told to stand still. Hopper notices that they have 3 more of those friggin' hummingbirds, the kryptonite, ready to go and take down 11. But Mike is like, Elle, do you guys see Elle? And even Dr. K is like, Sergeant, where's the girl? She was here a second ago. She must have escaped. Mike is relieved when he hears that for about a second. And then he looks up and he sees her. And Dustin sees her too, standing there on the other side, still in the upside down. Mike starts to go to her. He's stopped by a soldier, but he fights him off. He's like, no. He's pulling away. And when he pulls, he falls. And when he falls, he lands. Not outside the gate, not in the Mac Z. When he lands in the void. And he looks up, and he's alone with 11.
You have to get out of there. You have to get out.
None of this will ever end. Not if I'm still here.
No. We'll figure something out. We'll fight back. We always do.
I need you to talk to the others.
No.
I need you to thank them for me, for being so kind to me, and teaching me what it means to be a friend.
No, please don't do this. Please don't do this.
Mike, I need you to help them understand my choice.
But I don't understand.
I know. But you will. One day you will. You understand me better than anyone. You always have. From the day we met.
We see a flashback when Mike and the other kids first found 11 in the woods.
You've seen me.
Well, my name's Mike, short for Michael. Maybe we can call you L, short for 11.
The first time he introduced himself to her, really.
The real me.
We see when she puts on that dress, that wig, when they kiss for the first time, when they danced together, when they hung out in the cabin, when Mike found her outside the Nina Project, when he first tells her he loved her while she was trying to save Max during the piggyback.
I love you for exactly who you are.
Please don't leave me out.
Please don't do this.
I will always be with you. I love you. Goodbye, Mike.
When she says goodbye, Mike, he seems to be ripped away from her in the void, ripped back into reality, back into the soldiers grabbing him. He's yelling for her, and then they all start to notice that she's there and that she seems to be staying there. Nancy, Max, the look on Hopper's face, Kay even, Joyce, Robin, Steve, Will, Lucas and Dustin screaming for her. The record reaches the point where the wires touch, triggering the explosion back at the lab. The exotic matter that was above the lab, right below the explosion, that explodes on its own, causing everything in the Upside Down to be torn apart. We're seeing we see the Wheeler house, I think, we see churches, we see buildings, everything being torn down. We see the wall, the great wall that was surrounding the Upside Down, ripped apart, and everything being sucked out into the nothingness. Hopper and Mike are screaming as Elle is just standing there, waiting for the inevitable. She closes her eyes, and then she's gone. The Upside Down goes from a violent storm to nothing. Silence. They all look up, and it's as if it was never there. Now we just see the side of a torn building. We see inside the library. That other world, that wormhole, is no more. Its connection to the abyss is no more. It took the Upside Down and Jane Hopper with it. And all they can do is stand there. She's gone. We cut to a bright, sunny day in Hawkins. There's a crew of people working on repairs for the library, and we also see a memorial statue outside that says, "Dedicated to the citizens of Hawkins, Indiana, who lost their lives in the Great Earthquake, March 27th, 1986. 90% of Hawkins still thinks that the only thing that happened was this terrible earthquake. They never ever even saw the Maxi. They never knew about monsters. They didn't know about the Upside Down. And now it's 18 months later. It's 1989, a time where I feel like many of you listening might not even have been alive. A time for me that was filled with tons of memories. This was the year that I was in 8th grade. Please don't try to do the math. I feel old enough. Now, just like at the beginning of this season, we get a nice monologue from Rockin' Robin, who's back at the Squawk. But she's not a regular there anymore. It seems like Jimmy Fasthand slunk his way back into town and onto the air again. She's just popping on as a guest, but we do find out from her that the soldiers are gone. The fences are gone. The cameras are gone. Basically, the Max Z is just regular old Main Street Hawkins now. People are happy and smiling and going to the movies. And we see the movie theater that they're going to, the Hawk, is playing Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. My God, 1989 was such an excellent year for quote-unquote 80s movies and these big movies. There was the first Tim Burton Batman movie. We had Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Ghostbusters 2, Back to the Future 2, and this Indiana Jones 3. And ladies and gentlemen, I saw each and every one of them in the movie theater. Oh my God, what a time to be alive. Ooh, baby. So Robin, she's talking about Indiana Jones, and she flubs playing a sound effect, and she admits her usual partner in crime is not with her. And we find out that Steve is actually coaching Little League. The guy who always complained about being stuck with kids, who we later found out really wanted a big family of his own. Of course he's working with kids. It really is kind of great to see. And Robin goes on to say that she thinks finally, the Hawkins curse has been lifted.
This isn't even the Hawkins that I remember. It feels so different. But maybe it's not the town. Maybe it's me that's changed. We probably all have. At least, that's certainly true of my friends, who, by the way, are graduating today. That's right, Hawkins High class of '89 is walking the podium today. I hope you all come out and support them. I know I will, because if anyone deserves a standing O, they do. So, to get their party started, a new favorite.
And Robin starts playing Here Comes Your Man by the Pixies, a song that I'm not even sure I knew about back then. And I have to be honest, I don't even think I knew it was a Pixies song all the way into like this year right now, this month, you know what I'm saying? Like the Pixies were this alternative rock band. They were from my beloved Boston, but in 1989, I was not into really the alternate stuff, the alt rock, kind of almost like the college scene of music, the more intellectual rock music. I was more into the heavy metal and the hair bands and some occasional rap. So I'm not sure I appreciated it back then. But Robin definitely seemed like the more intellectual type of young adult who absolutely would have appreciated and loved the Pixies. The song is actually a perfect segue to go over to Lucas's house, where we see Max is skateboarding, and Lucas comes down already in his graduation gown, which she makes fun of him for. And I was thinking, like, so wait, Max is skating outside of Lucas's house. She even brings the jump there. So where is Max staying? Because we know her mom is nowhere to be seen. Persona non grata. Even the actress had talked about that, which is unfortunate. But, I always just chalked it up as her mom just really wasn't a great mom. Not the actress, but the mom really wasn't up for it. Or they just decided, yeah, it's not important. This is more of a Charlie Brown situation where the parents aren't that important unless they are the Wheelers. But I also have to say, is it me or do they actually look older? Like, I don't know if maybe this was filmed towards the end, so they literally are older when they started filming this, but maybe it's the hair. Lucas's hair, I think, looks way better now. I was never a big fan of the giant, DeVoe flat top. But Max's hair it's curlier. It's different. It's just different. They seem older. And maybe that's obviously because they are older. They share a nice kiss. Well, it's nice unless you're Erica, who's totally grossed out by it. And it's weird because Erica seems to be working on some sort of device that has some sort of vacuum cleaner maybe, or container. I don't know exactly what it is at all. But we go from the Sinclair house over to the Henderson house, where we see Dustin and Mrs. Henderson. Finally, we haven't seen her all year. She's taking pictures of him in his cap and gown. Well, she's trying to, but she seems to be crying too much. We do see that he has a valedictorian patch on. So, of course, Dustin is the valedictorian. He reassures her it's going to be okay. He's only a drive away, and he's going to come home every chance he can get. And he's going to call her so much she's actually going to want to change numbers. Kind of reminds me of my college experience, coming home and calling a lot. And he cut his hair too, and I like his shorter hair as well. We then jump over to Will, our fourth member of the graduation party, because remember, Max and Lucas are together. Then we have Dustin, and now we're with Will, who is with Joyce and Hopper. They're all posing together. Hopper looks a little grayer, a little pudgier, and he's back on the police force again. Well, I guess when you aren't technically dead and they never did fire you, I'd love to hear what the explanation was, though, because I feel like, did they ever fully, hey, so Jim, where were you all this time? Well, guys, have you heard of Kamchatka? What? So I don't know. And you know what? It doesn't really matter. I'm sure there were conversations, and they said, you know what? We'll just hire you back. But they're not getting their pictures taken. Instead, they're actually getting home movies made by Jonathan, who had a pretty sweet camera. I really like that camera. And I love this scene because Jonathan is, he's the camera, he's the filmmaker, he's the artsy fartsy guy. And of course he's complaining about there being too much light. He really wants to get this shot right, but Hopper is losing his patience.
Oh, God. No. Leave the bedsheet. Leave the bedsheet.
There's too much light. It needs diffusion.
It's not The Godfather.
Let him
You get one more take. You get one more take.
I really like that scene, that one moment, just because it's Hopper losing his patience, but it's not in a like aggressive, mean way. It's almost in a kind of tongue-in-cheek, like just, frustrated, but in a loving way with each other. I just thought that was really, really just a sweet little moment. Because seems like they're all in the cabin, and he's kind of acting as their dad, stepdad. Now, I don't know if they're all in the cabin. I don't know if Jonathan's there all the time. But I just really like that moment. Then at the end, you heard the phone ring. It's Karen. Joyce picked up the phone. It's Karen. She can't find Mike. But we find him rather quickly as we cut over to downtown Hawkins. He's sitting alone on a bench right there, right in front of the library, right where the last place he saw 11. He seems to be reliving that moment, and he's probably done that over and over and over again because Hopper knew exactly where to find him. Hopper tells him, your mom's freaking out, wondering where you are. He says, Hawkins does have a bit of a history with kids going missing, so you really can't blame her. And Mike's like, yeah, you know what? She wouldn't understand. Like, she'll never understand why I can't do it, why I cannot walk that stage. It'd be like a lie. Like I'm okay with moving on. And I'm not. I'm not okay with it.
I had this plan that me and Elle, we were going to go someplace far away.
That's the clip that I played in full at the start of this episode. A few hours back. If you go all the way back to the beginning, you can hear the full clip where he talked about he had this plan to go someplace far away, someplace where no one would find them. Someplace he felt silly about saying 3 waterfalls, someplace with 3 waterfalls. He doesn't even know if such a place even exists. And he didn't even know if she believed him. Like who would? He said it was a stupid, childish, a fantasy plan. Like he should have had a real one. He should have had a real plan. And he never thought that she would, do what she did. And the worst part is that Mike never even knew that anything like this could possibly happen, right? Like Hopper was kind of given the memory. So Vecna put it in Hopper's head, but it was the truth. And 11 didn't deny it. She just basically said, trust me to do the right thing. And he kept saying, you need to come back. You need to come back. So Hopper always had this in the back of his mind that 11 might be planning this. And yet Mike never had any of that. So all of a sudden he's ready to go back home with the love of his life, turns around, and she's sacrificing himself. So you can imagine when Finn Wolfhard, he's like, don't do this, don't do this. I thought that was really good. I thought he actually did really good acting, the screaming. What else could, how else would he sound? He sounded exactly like I thought he should sound. So the complete freak out that he had tells me, that, is, I think, warranted, valid. I thought it was really well done. And now he's sitting here all these months later just with this guilt of maybe my idea of this fantasy land kind of, made her think this isn't a reality. Did Hopper ever fill him in on this is what she was thinking? This is why she did it. I imagine yes. Based on the very end, I imagine yes. But at the very least, Hopper is there to tell him it is not your fault. What happened is not your fault. He goes on to say that Elle made her choice, and now it's time for him to make his. He has 2 roads. One, he can keep blaming himself, keep pushing people away, and that's, you suffer because you think you deserve to suffer. But the other one is you accept it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to ever stop thinking about it.
You just accept it. You live the best goddamn life you can. I've been down that first road before. I don't recommend it. And that's for Elle. I think you know what she would have wanted for you.
And you can see that Hop is saying this to Mike, but he's also saying it and thinking it about himself. They both have these choices, and they both know what Elle would have wanted for them. And it seems like that pep talk actually worked, because then we jump right over to the Hawkins High Class of '89 graduation. Pomp and circumstance. This song, of course, brings only 2 things to mind: a graduation or the Macho Man Randy Savage is entering the ring. We see that Jonathan is filming it. I'm wondering if he's filming it just for Will, just for himself, or if, because you'd feel like almost at this time you'd see a lot of cameras, but he has a pretty good prime spot. He's not even in the stands with all the other family. He is in the grass filming it. He must have been able to say, hey, can I go down and film this here? And I bet you Mr. Clark got him to be able to go do that. That's just my guess, So we see he's filming it. We see everyone coming in their caps and gowns. We see Lucas, and hey, there's Lucas's parents in the stands. Glad to see them one last time. And then we see Dustin's mom again. And oh, there's Coach Harrington and Rockin' Robin. We see delightful Derek, Holly the Heroic, who they look like they're friends now. Why, it's Holly's big sister Nancy and her mom Karen. And they both have the kind of the same 80s haircuts. They almost look they almost have Ted's hair. Oh my God, there's Ted Wheeler. Holy shit, he's alive. He is alive. I wish he had sunglasses on and a cigarette, almost like dying totally changed him, like he was just a relaxed, like, hey man, this is life now. But no, he seems to be just the same Ted Wheeler. Actually, now that I think of Mike's hair, and it feels like almost all the Wheelers except Holly have the same hair. It's a very 80 business hair look to me. Then we see Will and Max in their caps and gowns. And there's Dustin on stage as the valedictorian. We get a quick shot of Joyce. And then, yes, we see Mike shows up with Hopper. Karen runs over to him and he apologizes, saying, he panicked. And she says he doesn't have to explain anything. You realize now that she is in the know. She knows everything that's going on. I don't know if they filled Ted. They must have filled Ted in to a degree. I mean, well, he would have been like, what's that monster that showed up in the house? Oh, Ted, it was nothing. No, I feel like once they filled in Karen, they obviously had to fill in Ted. So you can imagine with everything that's happened, Karen does understand. She, even though Mike said she couldn't understand, I think, yeah, she probably could to a degree. Maybe not to the exact extent that how Mike is feeling with everything. So maybe they didn't fill her in on everything. But I think she did seem to understand. She's like, he doesn't have to explain himself. She's just so proud of him. They trade I love yous, and he goes and he takes his seat. And at this point, Principal Higgins introduces Dustin Henderson to the stage to give his valedictorian speech. Everyone cheers for him, including we see Murray hanging out with Mr. Clark. Dustin starts his speech by saying that he just wanted a normal childhood, but it was stolen from him, stolen from all of them. And that past year, he'd been pretty pissed off about it. You could see the principal didn't love that, saying that cussing. And it's funny that these kids, they don't even realize how much was stolen from Dustin and Lucas and Mike and Will and Max and Eleven and everybody. But he goes on to say, looking back on the past 6 years, even though there was a lot of bad, there was so much good too. I love then that he starts talking about Dungeons and Dragons, and Hopper just goes, Jesus Christ. Like he can be like, okay, kid, can we talk about anything else? Is there anything that you can talk about without interjecting Dungeons and Dragons into it? I just loved his little, like, oh my God, again. I love that Will and Lucas give their little cheers. Like, hey, they're part of the party. They love this stuff too. And so they didn't hold back from how much they loved it. So he starts talking about chaos classes and how there is bad chaos and there is good chaos. How bad chaos can bring anarchy, destruction, war, but good chaos can bring innovation and change. And we can see that the principal doesn't really like where this speech is going, as Dustin says, frankly, this school needed to change. He said they used to be so divided into the jocks or the nerds or the freaks. And in all this chaos, those walls broke down and he made new friends. Friends who were never, ever even supposed to be his friends. And it wasn't just him. He saw this happen with so many others. And we see now, again, we see Derek and Holly kind of give a little glance to each other, and we see that they're friends now.
And when you get to know people who are different from you, you begin to learn more about yourself. You change. You grow. I'm a better person now. I'm a better person because of them. Because of my friends. So, I'm not pissed off anymore, but I am worried. Worried because now that the chaos is over, Principal Higgins and every square like him is gonna do their damnedest to put everything back in order, and I don't want order. Which is why it's pretty hypocritical that I'm even wearing this thing. I mean, we look ridiculous. What is this? We look like Roman senators. I mean, it's not who I am. I don't think it's who any of us are. So, honestly, just screw it. Screw the school. Screw the system. Screw conformity. Screw everyone and everything trying to hold you back and tear us apart because this is our year.
So I pretty much just about lost my shit and jumped off of my couch when that song hit. Everything in that moment was a tribute to Eddie Munson. Did you see how he snatched the diploma right from the principal and then he flicked him the bird? Does that not sound familiar?
I am army crawling my way toward a D in Miss O'Donnell's. If I don't blow her final, I'm gonna walk that stage next month. I'm gonna look Principal Higgins dead in the eye. I'm gonna flip him the bird. I'm gonna snatch that diploma and I'm gonna run like hell out of here.
Oh, no, I'm not just talking about what Dustin did at the graduation. I'm also talking about the choice of song. Because if you don't know by now, but that song that you're hearing, that song that played at the graduation is from my favorite band of all time, Iron Maiden. The song is called The Trooper. It was written by the bassist and founding member of Iron Maiden, Steve Harris. It's actually based on the charge of the Light Brigade at the Battle of Balaclava in 1854. I wrote that down, but I didn't think about pronouncing it before saying it. And it also has a lot to do with it's inspired by Lord Tennyson's 1854 poem of the same name. Yes, Iron Maiden, legendary metal band, but they take a lot of their musical themes and their song ideas from history and fancy art like poetry. Who would have thunk, right? But here's the cool thing, okay? This is from the 1983 album Peace of Mind, the very same tape that Eddie held in his hands in his trailer when he proclaimed, "This is music!" Yes, Eddie, I agree. This is music. And guys, on a personal note, this is where it even gets cooler for me. This is happening in the Stranger Things world in 1989. It is the very same year that I started listening to Iron Maiden. I've been a fan of theirs ever since. I've seen them in concert 12 times. And in fact, I am seeing them again this year in 2026 in September. They're old men now, but they still bring it. And I just love that that this was the song choice. Iron Maiden's the kind of band that they never got radio play, they barely got video play, but they still have a rabid following, and they have had a rabid following for 50 friggin' years now, almost. Well, the band's been around for 50 years, but their first album came out in 1980, so I wasn't listening to them then. I'm not that old that I was listening to them then. I mean, technically I could have been, but I wasn't. And back to the moment at hand, as that song kicks off, Dustin rips off his gown, tears open his to show off a shirt that says Hellfire Lives, a brand new Hellfire shirt that the Netflix store already is selling. And I'm sure someday I want to get a shirt like that. If only because it reminds me of this moment, which reminds me of this song, which reminds me of 1989, which reminds me of the first time hearing this band. Like, it's all coming full circle for Mikey. So we're still at the graduation. Dustin rips open his shirt. And remember, Erica was working on something. It turns out she was creating her own confetti cannons because confetti also goes off everywhere as the kids then throw their caps in the air. And I guess that means they're done with the graduation. Like, that was the quickest graduation ceremony I've ever seen. We're here. Here's Dustin. And hooray! I'm guessing maybe a lot of other things already happened. Like, did everyone else get their diplomas already? Maybe we edited it down. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's TV time. It really doesn't. It's not that important. And when I graduated high school, we did not throw our caps and gowns into the air. It's dangerous. Have you ever seen One Crazy Summer? You know, someone could get killed. We didn't. I don't think we did that. I don't think we did it. And now I'm trying to it was a couple of years ago, many years ago. I do know that we did go down to at our high school, we had a big gym. That's where the graduation was. We had a small gym. That's where lunch was. And I know we went down there and everyone smoked cigars. I do know we did that, but I don't remember throwing caps and gowns and going. But they went crazy. I remember going crazy a little bit. The principal is yelling at everyone to get back in their seats. Doesn't he say summer school for every single one of them? Like, they've all graduated. What does he have over them now? I mean, I guess, no, it's too late. You gave them the diploma. I do remember graduating with a couple of kids who went through graduation and they got an empty box because they had to go back for summer school. Those kids are still beholden. Kids like that are still beholden to the principal. But once you got your diploma, you're Dunsky. No reason to go back. Time to move on. Get the hell out of there. So, as I said, the crowd's going crazy. The principal is angry. He's yelling at everyone. And as he's yelling, the speakers have a little feedback, and that seems to distract Mike for a moment. It makes him think back to that night at the Max Z when 11 did what she did. Makes him think of the hummingbirds, 11's kryptonite, and some sort of idea, some sort of thought seemed to have come to his mind. But we don't follow up with that there. He and Lucas and Will go over to greet Dustin. They call him crazy. They're all loving what he did, and they're all laughing when all of a sudden Stacy comes over. And if you remember, Stacy's that same girl that Dustin asked to dance back in season 2, who you could see was a little jealous when he ended up dancing with Nancy. She was also in some of the mall scenes in season 3, and she comes over now in season 5. So it's nice that we actually have a student who's been there all these years. She comes over to compliment Dustin for being badass. He does kind of fumble the moment by talking a bit too much, but then she does end up inviting them to a party later.
Hey, so I'm having a party later tonight. You guys should come.
Oh, wait. Did that just happen? Should we go?
Is that rhetorical?
No, screw that. I got a better idea. Way better.
Yeah, Dustin, a way better idea. Why don't you go call Susie, see how she's doing? Huh? So maybe Susie's out of the picture? I mean, yes, it was young love. Not all young love can be like Max and Lucas. Not all young love can be like Mike and 11. Maybe the long distance relationship between Dustin and Susie, just couldn't last. Or, it's not like he was flirting really with this girl. He was just trying to act cool in front of her, and all the friends were invited. So it wasn't, it was harmless. It was harmless. But the thought did cross my mind. I just thought, wait, where's Susie in all this? Not that it's going to matter because, no, they're not going to a party. That's not them. They are a party. They don't go to parties. Mike says, screw that. He has a way better idea. We cut over to the Squawk, where we see Jonathan, Robin, Steve, and Nancy hanging out on the roof of the radio station with some beach chairs and a few cold bottle of suds. And this is the last time we see these 4 characters. Seems like they're all living out of town now, coming back for graduation, except for Steve. And Jonathan is talking about New York City and jokes that Steve might like it in New York. And they joke about maybe them living together.
You're serious? Come on,
on, I mean, look at this place. The sunset, the view. Woo! You guys are seriously telling me you don't miss any of this? No.
No.
The forest, the quarry, family video, the hawk?
No.
No, I couldn't come back here if you paid me $1 million. You need a lot less than $1 million, I'll tell you that. Prices are still way down. There's actually this rad place over in Forest Hills. I can't quite afford it yet, but I'm close. And that is on a coach's salary.
Don't forget sex ed teacher.
Yeah, that's true.
They have you teaching sex ed?
It's part of the gig.
So I love that while these four friends are catching up, we're also catching up with them. We're getting updates on each of their characters. And we find out that Steve is the only one still in Hawkins. And he's not only the coach. We knew he was coaching already. I said Little League. Maybe it's the school team. Maybe it's the high school. I don't think they're old enough to be in high school. But he's not only the coach, but he's also the sex ed teacher. And I'm trying to think we had coaches who taught other stuff. And, maybe they were just there to be coaches and they kind of okay, I guess I'll also be a teacher. But he does seem to love teaching the kids, and he definitely goes easy on them, has a strict A policy. Well, a B if you're a real knucklehead, but that's as low as he goes. Jonathan jokes that, he wishes he could come teach at NYU. So now we know that Jonathan is going to film school and he's making a movie about capitalism or cannibalism or whatever.
No, it's anti-capitalist. The consumer, it's a metaphor. The more she eats, the hungrier she gets.
That sounds like a metaphor for me at a salad bar. So we find out that Jonathan is working on a student film. And I was just thinking, I have a student film. In freshman, I was a film major, freshman year of college, and I have a student film where I have an excellent hairline. It's in black and white. It's a silent movie, and it co-stars my buddy Jason, who has been on my Geek Mentality podcast numerous times, still to this day. I wonder if I should share that someday. I don't know if I've shared it before. It's probably not as good as Jonathan's film. But we find out that's what he's up to. And then we find out that Robin is also going to school. She's going to school at Smith. And while Steve probably doesn't want to go to NYU to teach, Smith, now that might be someplace Steve might consider teaching.
Smith, I would consider.
Oh, really? Is it the lectures on Steinem that draw you or the high concentration of women?
Can't it be both?
And if you don't know, Smith is a women's college up here in Massachusetts. Then Robin asked Nancy about her college experience, about the babes at Emerson, but she wouldn't know because she dropped out.
No way. What?
Oh, I knew it. You became a Navy SEAL.
No, not quite. I took a job at the Herald, which it sounds fancier like that. It's a trainee position, but I don't know. I was just sick of school and thought I'd maybe get out there and try the real world.
Nancy Wheeler. Still full of surprises.
That's a nice callback between Nancy and Robin.
There actually is something that I miss about this place. I miss this. Just us hanging out. I miss you guys. I really like my new friends. But it's
not the same.
I don't think it ever will be.
I'm not sure it's even supposed to be. The friends you make along the way in high school aren't the same friends you might have in grammar school. Same with college, same with after college. It doesn't make them better. It doesn't make them worse. It's just different. Maybe you'll hold on to those friends you had in childhood. I still have friends that I'm very close with that I've known since I was 3-4 years old. I go over their house to watch football to this day. Well, maybe not today because today it's going to be a lot of snow coming. But that's what I've been doing. I've had friends for decades and decades. I have friends from college who I talked with sometimes, but I haven't seen in years. I have friends through work. So it's but they're different. They are definitely different levels of friendship along the way. And at the same time, there are friends who you are very close with who you're not friends with anymore, or you don't see anymore. Like these two, I shouldn't say they're not close, like these four, I should say. Like they are friends, and they will be friends forever, based just from their upbringing, from everything they went through. I feel like they'll be friends forever, but there'll be different levels of connections between them through the years. And I would imagine that Steve will always be the one to really want to bring them together. My buddy Dave is that way. He's always one like, come on, let's everyone get together. Come on. And I go over a lot, but to get all this group together, it's a little harder sometimes. And you can see that Steve is the one who wants to do this because, they all start tearing up. It seems like, well, let's do something about it. All right. Like meet up once a month. Like they can all meet up in Philly. That seems to be the good spot between New York, Massachusetts, and Hawkins. And Robin has an uncle there, an uncle with a big house. And Jonathan's like, wait, does that house have a basement and a boiler room? He's already thinking of a perfect spot to continue to work on his horror movie, The Consumer. And one thought that crossed my mind is when they're on the roof and Robin says, I miss this. And I'm thinking the four of them did they hang out that much? We never really saw it, but I would imagine they did in two places that we didn't see it. Probably right after everything that happened, that 18 months, there was definitely times where they hung out and then they went on their separate ways. But also, separate ways, if he ever hurts you. Sorry. There's also the end of Stranger Things 4, and then all the time that passed between that and the beginning of Stranger Things 5 with Robin filling in everyone at the Squawk. I feel like they all were hanging out. They were all together at that point. And even with Steve and Jonathan not liking each other and really not coming, I think, kind of finding peace with each other, as you see now, they seem to be on much greater terms. I feel like they still hung out a lot then, but after everything in the Abyss and everything at the radio tower, that's where I think Steve and Jonathan became closer friends. That's just my guess. That's how I'm putting it together. It makes sense to me.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll meet at Robin's weird uncle's house, and we'll drink, and we'll reminisce, and make Jonathan's anti-capitalist cannibal movie starting next month.
Yeah, I'm in.
I'm in. To nothing ever keeping us apart.
Including overbearing significant others.
School.
Mortgages.
And kids.
Cheers.
As hard as it might be for four different people, four busy young people, to really take the time and come together once a month like they promise, I feel like it's something they're definitely going to do, at least for a while. And then you feel like life gets in the way. Oh, this month I can't. And they joke about, let's not letting, things like significant others, schools, mortgages, and kids keep us apart. So while it might be hard to do this once a month, I do feel like forever these four will be friendly. These four will, and I feel like their families will know each other to a certain degree. At least that's what I want. I want that really bad because I don't like the party being apart. And I know they're not officially, quote unquote, part of the party, the Dungeons and Dragons party, but let's be honest, they are. They are part of the group. And then they joke with Steve about kids, and he's like, maybe finding the one, right? Maybe it's Kristen. But didn't they say the same thing about Dawn and Margaret and Julie? So Steve is still Steve. Let's be honest. He's matured. He's more responsible now. He's still Steve the Hare Harrington. And as the camera pulls away, they continue to talk until we can't hear them anymore. And with that, that is the last time we see Jonathan Byers, Steve Harrington, Robin Buckley, and Nancy Wheeler. We cut over to a fancy chandelier in a fancy restaurant, and right away I knew it. Hop and Joyce are finally at friggin' Enzo's. Although the way the waiter talked to them, you could see they're actually fairly regulars there now. But for us, we finally get to see them on this date. And he called Hopper Chief. Did you notice that? So he is indeed the chief of police again. And he puts in the full order, even though he can't quite pronounce like Cabernet Sauvignon. I don't even think I can pronounce it. And even though I probably just nailed it, he also orders some caviar and some 2 filet specials. However, the chef would like to prepare them. And you could see Joyce was surprised and impressed, but he says, hey, it's a big day. They're celebrating Will graduating high school. Joyce raised 2 beautiful boys into 2 incredible men. And these guys had a lot more to overcome than just puberty, okay? She should be happy. She should be proud. But it's going to be quiet in the cabin. You know, now it's just them and the crickets. He doesn't really like the sound of those crickets anymore, and he wishes, there could be something different. Maybe with seagulls or ocean waves. She's like, yeah, that would be nice. And he says, well, it could be real. There's nothing tying them here to Hawkins anymore. But Joyce is like, okay, you seem to think that our bank account somehow got bigger. He's like, well, that could be the truth too. He got a call from a buddy from his days in New York. Now, if you want to read more about his days in New York, check out Darkness on the Edge of Town. I did a whole episode on that book. It's actually a pretty good book. He says Montauk is looking for a new chief of police. Well, there's your spinoff right there, huh? That was actually a perfect little Easter egg, because if you don't know, Montauk was the original title and the original premise for Stranger Things. A very similar story, but it took place on Long Island, and instead of the Hawkins lab, there was the very real Camp Hero, a very real place where military experiments were said to have taken place. So that is a great little nod to the origins of Stranger Things right there. I love that they threw that in. He said he'd actually get a 20% raise, and they'd be closer to the kids. It'd be a fresh start together. And Joyce is like, you could see she's a little overwhelmed by all of this all of a sudden, but he's like, hey, it's okay. We don't have to decide anything tonight. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. There is one thing he would like to decide tonight. And with that, Hopper stands up and gets down on one knee.
Joyce Byers. Will you spend the rest of your life with a tired, grumpy, stubborn old man who loves you very much?
Yes, I will.
She puts on the ring, and he takes her to the dance floor. And that is the happy ending that these 2 characters deserve. The last moments we see of Joyce and the Chief. The future Mr. and Mrs. Jim Hopper. We then go over to our final moments of the episode, of the season, of the series. And it ends in the best possible place it could. We end with the party in the same place we first met the party, playing Dungeons and Dragons in the Wheeler basement while the sprinkler waters Ted's lawn.
A hushed quiet falls over the town. Frightened villagers watch from rooftops and alleyways, wondering, how will this all end? The sound of boots echo across the square as Strahd von Zarovich strides up to Dustin the Bard.
Don't do this.
The vampire lord lunges, plunging its fangs right into his throat. Onlookers gasp as his body collapses. His lute clatters across the cobblestone, letting out a final, mournful note.
Son of a bitch!
I love that that's the mournful note. Son of a bitch! And I love that it still matters so much to Dustin and still matters to all of them. Yes, they are playing Dungeons and Dragons, and they mention a character named Strahd von Zarovich, who I looked up is a very real character. It's not, they didn't make this guy up. He has been around in Dungeons and Dragons since the 70s, and he is a vampire. And as I said, it doesn't seem like things are going all that well.
Checkmate. We lost.
So after all of that, Strahd von Douchebag just wins? This game is bullshit.
I agree.
Stupid, goddamn waste of time. God.
Strahd takes great pleasure in your anger.
So it seems like the boys are all kind of resigned to the fact that they're about to lose. Max not taking it in stride as much as they are. And Will figures, might as well just get the inevitable over with. And he goes to roll, but suddenly Dustin has an idea.
The mage from the Abbey of St. Markovia. She said we can summon her. When at our lowest depth.
The incantation to summon her. What's the incantation?
The incantation.
Mage, arise and end our fall from darkened paths and secrets deep. Come forth and help your promise keep.
Nothing happens.
Oh, come on. Why? Then why do we even have the incantation?
Wait. A purple light begins to shine through the mist, growing brighter and brighter. It's a portal. And out of this portal steps the Mage of St. Markovia!
Oh, look at that. The mage is there to save the day after all. They end up victorious and flush with wealth and honor as they live out the rest of their lives in comfort and happiness. The end. Great campaign, guys. Great campaign. And my first thought was, wait, was that their entire Dungeons & Dragons game they've been playing for years coming to an end, or just their most recent campaign, or their personal campaign? Like, was it separate from the Hellfire Club? I never quite understand how the whole world of Dungeons & Dragons works. If you can take your character and play different campaigns and different things happen, I don't know. But whatever happened, they seem to be pretty happy with how it ended. And just like, that's great. Great job, guys. Wonderful. But Max seemed a little underwhelmed.
Wait. Hold on. That's it. Comfort and happiness? Could you be more trite? I thought you were some kind of master storyteller or something.
I love the look on the boys' faces as Max basically challenges him to give us a better ending. So Mike goes on to say that those happy endings, those were the truth. But happiness can be found in many places. The knight and the zoomer, they retire from battle, and they settle down in a small village. With each passing day, their love grows stronger. We see a shot of Lucas and Max at a movie, in love. We also see them share a look of love together right there in the basement. And the bard, Dustin, craving knowledge, makes his way to the Mages Guild of Enclave, where he spends his days in their vast library. Though deeply devoted to his studies, he still makes time for the occasional adventure. We see Dustin in college, and I was wrong because we do see Steve again. He's there picking up Dustin, and they're going on an RV road trip together. I love it. Remember, Steve wanted to go on those RV trips with 6 kids of his own. Well, right now he's just got one, his best buddy, Dustin. Mike goes on to say, as for Will the Wise, he travels far and long to the bustling city of Vallaki, aka New York City, my guess. It's overwhelming at first, so very different from the village where he spent his youth, but it isn't long before he finds his place there, and with that, deep happiness and acceptance. And we see Will, and again what I'm assuming is New York City, at a bar, and he meets up with a guy. I assume it's some fella he's dating. He looks happy, and he looks a little more at home. And as for Mike, as for the storyteller, well, the storyteller does what storytellers do. Continue to tell stories. Stories inspired by his friends. One day, he hopes their tales of grand adventure will spread far and wide across the land so all can know of their great bravery. And we see him in his room, typing away at his typewriter, telling one of his great stories.
But there is a story that he can never tell. The story of the mage. Or at least not the real story.
The real story.
When she cast Sunbeam.
Goodbye, Mike.
She expended the last of her energy and she vanished. Does anyone ask themselves how she cast that spell?
The suppression stone. She couldn't have used her magic.
In the excitement, no one even noticed. But you see, the mage is very clever. A cleverness only matched by her sister, who, upon hearing the pleas of the paladin, had a change of heart.
Don't cry, Jane. My story was always going to end here. But yours doesn't have to.
Together, the sisters devised a plan. A plan to protect the mage from the Order of the Black Hand, who remained hell-bent on stealing her powers. So, in order to trick them, she had to make everyone, including her friends, believe that she was dead. And so the sister cast a spell from far away, safe from the power of the suppression stone. A spell of invisibility. Once the mage escaped, the sister cast one final spell. The mage you saw die was not real. She was an illusion.
Where did she go?
No one knows. No one will ever know. But I'd like to imagine that she's in a beautiful land somewhere far away.
We see 11. She looks a little older, and she's walking along this green mountain area, and she sees a valley with beautiful waterfalls, just like Mike promised.
She finds a small town to call home, safe from the danger of the Black Hand. And it is here, at last, that she finds peace. That she finally finds happiness.
This is just a theory, right?
How do we know it's true?
We don't. Not for sure. But I choose to believe that it is. I believe.
I believe. I believe.
I believe.
I believe.
I believe too, guys.
Guys, what's going on? The lasagna's getting cold.
Yeah, we just finished. We'll be right up.
And of course, Karen ruins a beautiful moment because her goddamn lasagna's getting cold. But as Mike said, They're finished. They'll be right up. Think about it. They're finished. And so one by one, they put their game binders away to leave the basement. First we see Max, then Lucas. We see Dustin, then Will. All of them with tears in their eyes as they leave the Wheeler basement for the last time. Mike is the last one to put his binder on the shelf. He's in tears as he knows this is the end of an era. But every ending has a new beginning. Because as he starts to go upstairs, as he starts to leave the basement, Holly and her friends are coming down.
Jesus, watch out.
She's yourself. You said
Debbie, Mary, Joshua, and yes, Derek.
Why did you get to be dungeon master? This was my idea, and this is my house. Holly, you told me this was not going to be nerdy. This is super nerdy. Look.
So Mike looks down at them from the stairs and sees them playfully arguing. And he can just see that time doesn't end. Time waits for no one. Your youth only lasts so long, so you better enjoy it while you can. And fear not, there will always be another generation to enjoy it after you. He watches them for a few moments more, and with a nice smile on his face, makes his way up the stairs for the last time and closes the door. Our series ends as we stay on that door, and we fade to black. The end. And with that, we get an amazing closing credits accompanied by David Bowie's Heroes. Not the first time we've heard this song, but I think it's the first time we heard this version because back in Stranger Things 3, we heard an amazing cover of this song by Peter Gabriel. But here it is. I believe Joe Keery actually suggested this be the last song, and it is just perfect. We get it with these great illustrations of the cast going all the way back to season 1. Winona Ryder, David Harbour, Millie Bobby Brown, Finn Wolfhard, Gaten Matarazzo, Kaylin McLaughlin, Noah Schnapp, Sadie Sink, Natalia Dyer, Charlie Heaton, Joe Keery, Maya Hawke, Brent Gelman, Priya Ferguson, Carla Buono, Jamie Campbell Bower, Nell Fisher, Linda Hamilton. This was Stranger Things 5. I've watched this ending at least 3 times, and every time I tear up. Watched it, obviously, the original time, watched it for the note-taking, watched it to go back and get the sound clips, and it gets me every single time. The images are basically summarizing the entire series, and like, as sad as I am that it's over, I'm so happy that it existed. I'm so happy that I decided to do a podcast about it, and I'm so happy that you people found it and appreciated it and listened to it, and no one is more appreciative of it than me, and more appreciative of you than me. But let's not forget what we just listened to. That long clip, which it definitely was playing the whole thing. There was no way I wasn't. I haven't talked about it. Mike's theory. Mike's wonderful theory that he asks everyone to believe. And I wonder how many people listening to this don't believe. It is just a theory. He has nothing to go off of it on, except when he heard those speakers, it made him think of those loudspeakers that caused 11 all those problems. And they were there. And I'm guessing they were turned on. At least that's the way he makes it seem. They were there, they were on. So if they were on, how could 11 have done what she did? How could she have brought him into the void? She'd be doubled over in pain, and she wasn't. Now, you could say, well, she was on the other side of the gate, so maybe that was the reason. Or I like Mike's reason of she wasn't actually there. We see a reimagining. Now, Mike could not have thought of this. Like what we saw, Mike could not have thought of his of 11's sister being shot and saying my story ends here, but yours doesn't have to. He's just thinking that she is somewhere else and she is creating this illusion, allowing 11 to escape. But why? Why would she want 11 to escape? Now, maybe it is. Remember when she put the gun down? Maybe Hopper actually did get to her and she had a change of heart where she realizes she's gone, but 11's story doesn't have to end. But then her whole time is, but there will always be more. There will always be another doctor. There will always be more military coming for you. So there's that theory of why, that kind of thought of why would she allow 11 to go, unless it was just like one last moment of heroics to say, no, I believe what Hopper said. I believe that that everyone around you will fight and die to protect you. So that is how she could have done that. Whether she did or not, I like the idea of believing. I like that idea. And I love the idea that it is about you believing or not. And everyone can have their own way. Just a kind of a perfect. Now, what I've loved, a definite, here's what happened. Yeah, I'm that kind of person that always loves to know exactly what happened, but I can appreciate the kind of choose your own adventure type situation that, really is isn't that what Dungeons and Dragons is about, of creating your own adventure? And I love that at the very end, the last illustration in the credits we see is leaving Hawkins, come back soon. Now that's a sign, yeah, but why would that be the last thing we see? Now, we know the spinoff will never show Hawkins again. Or I shouldn't say that. We know the spinoff isn't Hawkins-centric. And we do know that there is a cartoon coming. So we will see Hawkins again. But I wonder if part of that also led to the theory that this wasn't the finale. I love the hope. I love the idea of, oh, we fooled you, there's one more. It would have been better as if at the end it said coming next. Like if it just loaded to an episode, you're like, nope, sorry, there's one more. That would have been cool. Would have been crazy, but it would have been cool. The fact that they have this, film long episode with this grand finale and people still thought there was going to be more. I never once thought that or subscribed to that. Would I have liked there to be more? Well, I wish there were 9 seasons. The more Stranger Things we get, the better. But my immediate reaction to this ending was it was the perfect ending, and I'm very happy with leaving it all alone as is, as a complete story from Stranger Things to Stranger Things 5. Yes, we'll get that cartoon. That just fills in some cracks here and there, and like what if stories, which is basically what the comics and the novels do. They do not take away from anything in the TV show, and they don't mess with timelines. Really, they don't mess with any of the story arcs. It's just kind of like, well, here's what may have happened over here, or here's what may have happened over there, and that's what the Stranger Danger Book Club is all about. And even though Stranger Things 5 has come to an end, even though Stranger Danger 5 has come to an end, fear not. Stranger Danger will return. We'll have the book club. We'll have the spin-offs. Whatever comes to Stranger Things, Stranger Danger will be there. And as the story of Stranger Things comes to an end, as the story closes, so does a book, an actual book in the credits that says it's a Dungeons & Dragons player manual for the story Stranger Things. I thought that was such a great touch. And we see one of those 20-sided die right there, rolled to a 7. And we all know what that means.
It was a 7. Huh? The roll, it was a 7. The Demogorgon, it got me.
Just a perfect little nod to how it all started all those years ago. My friends, once again, I cannot thank you enough for listening and supporting and commenting and reviewing and just sending in messages, sending in ideas, sending in theories over all these years. This September will be 9 years since I started Stranger Danger, and I'm overwhelmed with joy and appreciation from each and every one of you. And as I said, this isn't the end of Stranger Danger. It's just the closing of one chapter, one major, gigantic chapter. And I want to apologize for taking so long, for finally getting this final episode out to you. As you can see, I've never done anything this big. This is the most massive podcast episode that I've ever done in any show I've ever done, ever. And I appreciate your patience in me getting this finally out to you 25 days later. I'll probably take a little bit of a break after this, but I have some reading to do, have some fun Stranger reading to do. So the next time you hear from me on this show will probably be for the book club. However, there was one comment that was like, "Oh, maybe you should talk about the documentary, the behind the scenes documentary." So there's a thought too. I haven't watched it yet. I've been waiting to do this first. Then I'm going to go back and watch that. So, that is a pretty good idea. We'll see. We'll see. We shall see. It might be a couple weeks. I got to decompress after putting this massive episode together, but not a bad idea. So thank you to the person who sent that in, Stuart. I'm not gonna not say your name. Thank you, Stuart, for sending that in. Good idea. But until then, I want to thank you guys again so much. You can follow me on all social media at Geek Mentality, except of course TikTok, which is Geek Mentality Mike. You can follow the show on Blue Sky at strangerdangerpodcast.com or on Twitter at strangerdpod. Mostly it's Blue Sky now. And if you like the sound of my voice, but maybe talking about things that aren't specifically Stranger Things related, check out Geek Mentality, which is kind of my flagship podcast where I do these monthly shows, not once a month, where I do these month-long shows a few times a year, generally in March and in June and in December, sometimes in August. I'm thinking of maybe having an October show where they are month-long, everyday shows. Well, in Christmas, it's 25 days. You get that. But the next time Geek Mentality will be putting out a new show is at the beginning of March, which is Marchie McFly, which is Back to the Future related. So if you like Back to the Future, and I feel like a lot of people who like Stranger Things probably like Back to the Future. If you like Back to the Future, check out Geek Mentality and look specifically for Marchie McFly episodes. I have 5 years worth of Marchie McFly episodes. This is year 6 coming up on March 1st. So check that out. And if you just want to look into other things I work on, go to fansnotexperts.com. But if you just care about Stranger Things and Stranger Danger, well, you can just go to strangerdangerpodcast.com and see all the episodes covering everything Stranger Things from the beginning to the end and beyond. Thank you once again from the bottom of my heart. Stay stranger, my friends. And until next time, I believe.
Fans not experts.